disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
We just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing.
Lobito!
You got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
All right. Sorry about that. My audio software here froze. Welcome everybody to the Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. It's a good friend, Mr. BDA, and I'm glad everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we've got a fantastic one for you. That's right, a fantastic one for you, because we're going to be talking about all the fights that took place on Saturday, and there was, hey man, listen, it was a jam-packed Saturday. Good fights, precision striking, good technique, finesse, and a little bit of drama for everybody. So we're going to be talking about all of that. We're going to be taking your phone calls near the end of the hour. So stay tuned for that one. You guys get to call in near the end of the hour and let us know what your thoughts were about the entire shenanigans and hijinks that took place last night. Don't forget, you can check us out on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify at your leisure. And if you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so with the Super Chat feature. But it's always more important if you join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. All right, fellas. But let's give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. By the way, what's in the background? I have to continue playing music for the intro. That's right. A little blues music for everybody there. Anyway, listen. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm talking about Night Murph, JJ, Flex Luthor, the Chitlin Distributor, Deviated Septum Boxing Talk, Knockout Ned, Blyat, Boy, Night Murph, already mentioned him, Flex Luthor, King Bucho in the house as well. Shout out to King Bucho, Lalo Soto 13 Gaming. Shout out to him. Timothy Figueroa. Who else was in there? JJ, Nadmer, Vitur, Joker's Wild, Mr. Poe in the house as well. Shout out to M. Poe, Warp Speed. Many more people to come, I'm sure, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, I see we got the Gons, aka Gonzalo, dropping by. Gonzalo, let's start with. First of all, thank you for being here. I'm all over the place right now. But shout out to Gonzalo. Thank you for joining. Let's start with the Tim Tszyu fight. who defeated Brian Mendoza via unanimous decision. It was an interesting affair. Tszyu started off relatively slowly, as he tends to do. Once he stepped it up, however, he was able to overtake Mendoza on the scorecards. Gonzalo, what did you make of this fight?
How you doing, Mr. BDA? I'm doing okay. Here in the Philippines.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Nighttime. Yeah, I watched the fight. It was a good fight. He's a solid champion. The newly minted, what is he? Not the IBF because or what belt did he get just acquire? Anyhow, yeah, the newly minted champion, first title defense, and he put on the show. It was a good fight. It seemed like it lasted for like a long time. I know a fight's 12 rounds and it's 3 minutes per round plus the minute in between. It's a total of 48 minutes. But the damn thing dragged in a good way. Like to me, it seemed like it was like an hour long, like a true battle of warriors, for the long haul. It was one of those type of fights that it wasn't like action packed back and forth every round, but the intrigue was there because that both fighters had pop in their punches. That even though the pace was kind of like dialed down, was kind of like slow in the beginning. You just had to keep paying attention because you knew somebody was gonna drop something significant down the stretch, and that did happen. Tszyu, Brian Mendoza, he even went low, and Tszyu felt it. I forgot how lethal Tszyu's uppercuts are. I think he dropped Dennis Hogan with one of those. The lead, especially the lead, where you cannot. If you're like a southpaw. Okay, or like a right-hander with the lead hand, it's very difficult to generate power with the lead uppercut because you can't really get the leverage. I'm thinking, but there's just fighters that do it naturally, like maybe a Navarrete, but this guy here, Tszyu, can certainly throw a great lead left uppercut.
Yeah.
Right? And he's got power with it. It's the lead left and the straight right. So he did what he was supposed to do. And Brian Mendoza, he comported himself like a stoic character all the way up until the fight and during the fight. But just a better man won. And that was it, man. Decision, unanimous.
I want to start out by saying some of the positives from Tszyu. Number one, he has this innate ability, which is something that I'd like to see more fighters develop. And I want to talk about that later on when we talk about some of the other bouts that took place last night. Be that as it may, he has this innate ability to make guys work with his feet alone and his pressure. That is something that we've talked about. Navarrete, for example, he can do that. He can make guys work, makes them flinch, makes them move excessively, while he himself does the bare minimum. And then when he starts punching, things get worse for them. They worsen. And so that's what Tszyu is able to do. He cuts the ring off. He feints, throws punches from all angles. And this is something that I expected was going to occur with Brian Mendoza. Now, of course, the danger was that Mendoza was going to catch him with something. And catch him he did here and there. And even then, Tszyu just took the shot. So Tszyu is going to be a problem for people by virtue of his footwork, the pressure he places. He's got underrated defense. He can punch from all angles, like I said. You can see him thinking in there and making his opponents overthink. And he'll hit, there was a point where he was going jab, jab, then the straight right. He started going with 1-2-1. Then he started going with body shots. And it was just, it was good. It was good. But now, here's my question, though. Because I was watching the ESPN Spanish feed. There's no Showtime Spanish, so I think ESPN Spanish, and I don't know if they're from Venezuela or something, but I want to talk about the commentators later. But they had Mendoza ahead by the 6th round, 5-1. 5-1. Gonzalo, did you in any universe did you see that happening?
Whoa, no, I didn't. You know how they say that you have what comes to mind? Campbell, Lomachenko, where there's a difference between close and competitive, right, BDA? This was competitive, but you could be losing the rounds ever so slightly, but you're still losing them. And once the rounds start fucking tallying up, you start becoming you start going down under, no pun intended, on the cards, like wide. Just because you were competitive doesn't mean that the fight turned out to be close once you sum up the rounds. One fighter just takes off, right? winning every round, close, close, close. Then when you count it, it's like okay, it's competitive, but after 6 rounds, it might be 5-1, right? For example.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, look. The third round, I remember Tszyu clearly won it. I gave him the second one was when the first one he didn't do anything. It was just a classic feel-out round. So I can understand having a 3-3 by going into the seventh, for example, or if you're going into the sixth, I could see it maybe 3-2 for Mendoza, but 5-1. And and the day they had this female commentator there, I don't know. It's even now sinking into the Spanish market where they gotta get a female commentator. And I'm sorry, man, her comments were surface-based type of analysis. No está aventando golpe. He's not throwing punches. He's not throwing enough punches. I'm thinking, but he's not getting hit with anything either. And they were making it out as if Mendoza was schooling him. I'm thinking, and then the two other commentators were agreeing with her. I don't know if I were so inclined to be a pervert, I would think that maybe it's because they want to get into some of that pussy. And that's why the only reason why they were agreeing with her. Either that, or maybe human resources tell him, listen, you gotta fucking make her feel welcome, otherwise we're firing your asses. But look, I expect more from analysts. I'm not saying I would do a better job. I know that's the first thing that people are gonna jump to. Well, why don't you do a job? That's not the point. The point is these guys. I've been watching boxing long enough to know what good analysis is from commentators. Those dudes, my goodness gracious. But anyway, I see we got the Jimmy here, the Jimmy Reno, and we got Gonzalo too, fellas. You take it away if you want to give your thoughts on Tszyu dominating Brian Mendoza.
Well, all right. Can I just thing with Tszyu, right? I'm going to make an analogy and kind of put it back in days of old. You would never even see a professional fighter on average. I would say if there was a way to find out, I'm sure there is. I just don't have the analytical know-how to go search it out. But I would say the average fighter, you didn't see him on television until about their 30th, 35th professional fight.
Mm-hmm.
That would, constantly. Because of Tszyu's last name, he was flushed on. They were putting him on television relatively soon. I believe within his 10th fight. I think when I first saw him. Here's the thing with Tszyu. He had a very limited amateur career. 32 amateur fights. That's next to nothing, right? So we've seen the maturation of a professional fighter that you would normally not see. He has really progressed. Like, you don't usually see a progression in a professional fighter because you don't, like I said, you don't usually see him until he's polished, like, I guess, for a lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. So the fighter that I remember I first saw, I wasn't too high on. I'm like, Jesus, man. I was even almost surprised that the old man would let his kid out there looking like that. Like, why would you want to put him? Come to find out, he wasn't even involved in the kid's life. Actually, estranged from him. He's only seen one professional fight. His first, I think, he was for the last couple or something. But so they didn't have that type of relationship. So I wasn't that high on Tszyu in a couple of 3 years ago because, like I said then, this kid has limited, but it's good to see where he's come from, the way he's developed into a legitimate fighter. So I think that's why a lot of people might have slept on him, because if you look at it where he came from, he looked shaky back a few fights ago. Remember, a couple of times he went down in the first round. I think more than once he's been down. But it's been impressive to see him come along. But to your question, no, I didn't see him in any time behind that fight. In fact, my thing is this. He's an Australian fighter. Very hard for Al Heyman to control. He has no say probably in any aspect of his name, his likeness, as well, like he does with the fighters here. Mendoza is probably a company man. He's regularly on the PBC, easier to control, local guy, whatever. So who knows what word was put out, like that was the A side. I'm just saying that's completely conjecture, but I can't think of any other reason somebody would speak like that because he was clearly winning that fight. But that's my long-winded dissertation.
Yeah, that was just a pet peeve that I had because I'm aware that most people didn't see the Spanish feed from ESPN. But again, it's when I say Spanish feed from ESPN, they don't even appear to be located in the U.S. I think they're based on their accent, they sounded Venezuelan or Ecuadorian. I don't know what their deal was, but their surface-based analysis of the fight, it was very vanilla, very simplistic, and but look, listen again. Before we get into the negatives about
Showtime,
what was that?
Are they affiliated with Showtime in any way?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, it's ESPN.
Okay.
It's getting that feed because there's no such thing as Showtime in Spanish over there in South America. So I don't know how they worked it, but
Yeah, I started watching the Spanish video. I clicked on and I was listening in Spanish, but then I switched it over to English.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I should have done that myself. Now that you mention it. By the way, Flex Luther in the chat says, "Okay, let's get to the prime card already." Yeah, we're gonna get to that, man. Don't worry. But okay, I wanted to talk about Tim Tszyu, that the good that he flummoxes his opponents with feints, good control of the distance, punches from all angles. Now, here's the things. A couple of things I'd like to see from him. First of all, a jab. Somebody mentioned that in one of the comment sections that I was reading, and they said his life would have been, this would have been a much more dominant fight for Tszyu had he been pumping that jab. Guys, was that just a question of him being weary of Mendoza's speed and power, or does he just not have that type of jab?
I think maybe a combination of both. Mendoza can crack, and again, look at his. I mean, that was his 24th professional fight. He had 32 prior to that. You know what I mean? That's a very small. So he's still learning on the job, I think. So he maybe as he develops it more, I would imagine. I've seen like such a progression in his abilities over the last 4 years. I would imagine that would something he works on. So I wouldn't be surprised now. You know what I mean? Literally watching this kid develop, the same taking he's like going up for all the belts. So kind of strange situation, but yes, I agree. He definitely needs to pump the jab, jab after that feint, because he would bite on a feint and then he wouldn't do nothing with it. If you get him to bite on the feint, then you follow it up quick with a jab because you already know what his first reaction is going to do. You're not going to give him time to think in his head, I don't want to bite at another feint. So once they bite at that feint, you jump on it. So he does it again, bang, but you catch him because you know where his hands are going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
yeah. He punches hard with both hands. I mean, he throws a good lead, like I mentioned, left uppercut that very seldomly you see fighters that can generate that type of power based on your lead hand. You know, to get the leverage on that. So if he's doing that with the lead left uppercut, why can he not throw a powerful lead left, obviously jab? Because throwing a good jab never hurt nobody. It's only going to benefit you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's a good point, man. Yeah, I mean, there's room for improvement, but that's the interesting thing. Like Jimmy pointed out, this is a guy that took boxing late. He's already 28 years old. He's not a 24-year-old prospect or anything. You know, he's got a couple of titles now. He's fought some very good competition, and the improvements that he's made have been tremendous. But there's still some things that you can tell. I can see that he started boxing late. He has a very wide guard. There's a big gap in there. He tends to lean back too much sometimes. I mean, there seems to be space there for some other quicker counterpunchers or better boxers. Because, I mean, Mendoza, again, got to give Lavala credit. The very hard punching. He gave some good angles. By virtue of his speed and power, he made Tszyu reticent to throw. But he's not the finest technician out there. I mean, Mono Ramos essentially beat him when they fought each other. So, I think Tszyu did better than Mono, but be that as it may, when he fights better technicians, Tszyu, he's going to have to mind his P's and Q's defensively. And that's what I was thinking. He called out Jermell Charlo. And say what you want about Charlo, I want to mention later something that Sean Porter recently came out and said about Charlo. But say what you want about Charlo, but he's proven time and time again that, yeah, you can beat him on the scorecards, but then out of nowhere, he'll catch you with a big shot. And that's all she wrote. Very Wilder-esque. So, guys, how would you, now that we've seen Tim Tszyu enough times against quality opposition, how would you see a potential Tim Tszyu-Jermell Charlo match go?
It's almost exactly what you said. Like, you would be waiting for him. You'd be on, like, if you were a real big Tim Tszyu fan, on bated breath that he's not going to have one of those defensive lapses because Jermell is extremely athletic and can hit hard. And I would imagine after that last dare to be get paid situation, he'd really want to put some, try to get some respect back on his name. So you'd be looking at, I think, a charged fighter looking to hurt somebody. If you would hope that type of mindset. So yeah, that would be the type of fighter who would probably give him a hard time right now. Somebody athletic who could punch between his punches, catch his open guard. You see, I see that too. I see a lot of defensive things with him that can be tightened up. But the fact that he's progressively gotten better tells you that each fight, I'm sure he's working on that, and I'm sure he's got people around him. His father, man, he's got that relationship with him. They're talking. He's going to tell him what to do, and they'll work on it. The key is not to try to have him work on too much at once, because when you try to, you end up. It's better to pick a couple of big deficiencies and pound them because you want them to become instinctual. Not, you don't want them to have to think about it. So that's the problem sometimes. They try to change a fight, try to work on too much at once, and nothing really sticks. But I think that's a big thing there, though, with that stance. I saw that myself. What do you say, Gonzalo?
I'd say this fight only makes him better because this was a good fight. He gained experience. And, Charlo, yes, he has a lot to prove. And a lot of people, if he hadn't fought Harrison, they probably would have said, oh, Tim Tszyu straight up and down. He needs to fight an African American to prove himself. Because if not, he's just very basic. But, he fought Harrison, which is basically a tale of two fighters. When the stamina goes, he's not that good, but he is a good boxer when he holds it together. So we know that Tim Tszyu's not smoking mirrors. He's a good, solid fighter, and against Charlo, he would be the hunter. I'm thinking he would chase Charlo down, and Charlo would kind of play it smart, get on the back foot, and allow Charlo to come in, then actually stop, play the counter puncher part, and try to run them into like a straight punch, a la like maybe Floyd Mayweather, when you're stepping back, and he's coming to you, kind of like the same counter they did Capra Castano with. He would assume that role. But he would give up a lot of rounds. All the while, Tszyu would be the hunter and putting them rounds in the bank. So I would favor Tszyu, and especially since now he's the champion. He's not asking for no scraps from anybody. He's a newly minted champion. He made a title defense. The ball's on his court as well.
He's confident as fuck right now.
Yeah, maybe a little too confident though. And I got to tell you, some of the people in the chat are saying that they would pick Tim in a heartbeat against Charlo. I got to tell you, it's a. Don't let the Canelo fight fool you. Yes, Tszyu can do some things that Canelo did in there. It would probably look a lot like the Canelo fight, but Canelo's fucking bigger than Tszyu. He's got better defense. He tucks that chin in. Again, I resubmit the Tszyu chin up in the air and the gaps in his guard. Mendoza's a big puncher, but he didn't really try. Charlo, against guys that he's not afraid of, will probably let his hands go. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Charlo beats Tszyu. I still don't know who I'd pick in that one, because if Charlo doesn't get him out of there, he might not beat him on the scorecards. But I wouldn't pick Tszyu overwhelmingly. I'm not gonna let the Canelo fight get in the way of on the rating or giving a proper analysis of what Charlo is.
Right on the money, brother.
Too, right? Bala Mendoza, once again, he did it against Mono. You could say, because Mono's big. He's a big dude. But he started doing it against Tim Tszyu. Obviously, he got power, Tim Tszyu. But that's a knock on Mendoza, right?
Mm-hmm. You mean
in the
that
seventh round, he started clinching the fight.
Yeah. I was going to mention that, Gonzalo. He started... I mean, that's what I said before the fight when I did a video about that, about Tim Tszyu, and I think I mentioned it in the video that when you watch Mendoza and then you watch Tszyu's fights, you see Tszyu very controlled, very relaxed. He's the one that's making guys work. Whereas Mendoza in a lot of fights against lesser fighters, he's the one that's reacting to what they're doing. And there's a lot of wasted energy, very jittery, fast twitch muscles. Movement just for the sake of movement too. That's what you see with less competent fighters or amateur fighters. They do a lot of unnecessary things just for the sake of doing them. They'll move the head a lot. They'll move the hands. And it's not really. There's no real purpose behind it. And I think that was a difference between Mendoza and Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu is a very good technician in there. Again, he's imperfect, far from perfect, but he does a lot of things that, again, I want to go back to that. If you guys could remind me about how too many fighters nowadays lack the ability to pressure fighters. And I wanted to get to that when we talk about Keyshawn Davis, who got a victory last night. But what else I want to say about Tim Tszyu? when he was putting pressure and these commentators from ESPN they weren't giving him any credit. I mean, it'll come back to me. But anything else you guys want to say about Tim Tszyu and the Mendoza fight?
As soon as he walked out with them trunks and the gloves, Jimmy, I knew it was over because that's my favorite color. That's the color of my door. The turquoise green.
There you go.
My pictures, everything is turquoise. I was like, damn, that's a cool color. He's waiting.
That's great. Tszyu had Mendoza's chin. He'd be the fucking next definite favorite to be unified. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that kid Mendoza has a great chin. And the fact that, but again, I think it's been flash knockdowns with Tszyu. I don't think he's been really rocked, unless I'm wrong. Somebody could, Michelle will correct me in the chat, but I don't remember him being too rocked. But that was, a couple of fights back. And didn't he get put down by Gaucher too? Was it Gaucher?
It was Gaucher. It was Gaucher, and there was a early on in his career, some guy. He looked like a punk. I'm not saying punk as in a wee guy. I'm saying an actual fucking punk with the colored hair and everything. He dropped him with a right hook, I think. I think it was a southpaw dude.
Yeah, and it had to be it had to be on flash for Gaucher because he's not even. He's got like an 18% KO ratio. Like he's a notorious light puncher. And but so it's interesting, and I think that's one of the reasons why. Listen, it would have been the worst thing to do. This is what happens. Real quick, with some of these fighters, they have the trajectory of, like, say, Tszyu. They start getting to the thing where now their name has some play. People are interested. Now they don't want him to lose because they can make money on this kid. So they suddenly start matching him soft. Tszyu, to his credit, a couple years back when the Charlo fight kept getting delayed, whether it's hand injuries, which I'm not 100% I believe, but whatever, and he would take on, remember, for no reason, it wasn't mandatory, he's taking on, the kid that lost to Charlo. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. I just said Harris. No, was that his last name? But anyways, it's one tough fight. Seems like, or one after another. He's not taking dogs. That's for a reason. Steel, sharp, and steel. His father and his handlers know. We start feeding him no-hopers or guys he's supposed to beat, there'll be no maturation. That's it. They'll stall him right there. So I think it's smart the way they're moving him. I just wanted to add that, my friend.
That's a great point. And the activity, too. He's been active. He hasn't been sitting around with 3 1-year layoffs in between fights. I mean, he's actually getting there. And, one way to sharpen skills or keep him sharp is fighting a lot, quite frequently. So that's what he's doing right there. By the way, Mendoza said that Tim Tszyu has earned his spot fighting out of his father's shadows. Now, that's a shadow. That's an interesting point because I mentioned this in the last show that Tim Tszyu appears to be the rare fighter who has a famous boxer father and that he might be able to surpass or at least meet his father's standards because, like I said, we've seen guys who become all-time greats and their fathers were boxers, but they were never really good boxers. Like Mayweather, for example, Floyd Mayweather Sr., he wasn't even a contender. He was a gatekeeper at best.
His uncle was the better fighter.
Exactly. So it's difficult to see guys like, Julio Chavez Jr. never came close to even half of what his father accomplished. Same thing with Julian Jackson's father and so on and so forth. Tim Tszyu appears to be the first fighter that I've ever remember that he might actually meet or come close to fulfilling what his father was able to accomplish. That's amazing right there.
Yeah, when you said that, BDA, I didn't get it at first. And like later after the show ended, I kept thinking about that, what you said. And I finally fucking got it. What you mean is basically like you have a all-time great, kind of like a Hall of Famer and there's no ifs and buts about that. Tim Tszyu's dad, Kostya Tszyu is a Hall of Famer. Where you have one Hall of Fame dad, then the son also becomes potentially a Hall of Famer in the future. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't think that's happened.
Yeah.
Well, the reason being, most fathers who become Hall of Famers, and there's a kind of a reason behind that. Most guys who do become Hall of Fame fighters usually become at least financially secure for a while or whatnot, or they don't want their kid to get into it. A lot of times, it's the guys who never really make it, the journeyman, because you'll see a lot of fighters, their father fought. The father's in the corner in the beginning. It's because their son, they want to take what knowledge they got and pass it on to their son because they know if they started younger. You see a lot of that. You see a lot of sons of no-name fighters grow. But to your point, famous fighters almost never. You never see almost famous, like up to the level of Kostya Tszyu. to have his son then get anywhere near the stratosphere of him. So yes, that's a good take.
By the way, I remember. Yeah, Larry Holmes once said in an interview that they asked him, "Hey, did your kids ever want to box?" This was years after he retired, and they asked him, "Did your kids ever want to get into boxing?" He said, "Yeah, one of my kids. He wanted to learn boxing, just to stay in the gym and all that. I mean, to stay in shape and learn how to box and learn how to defend himself. But that was it." He said. It's like if they would have told me, "Hey, I want to be a professional fighter," I would have told them, I would have smacked them upside the head and tell them, "I fought so that you don't have to, motherfucker." And I said, "Man, that was actually pretty poignant." That Larry
Remember
Holmes
what Mike Tyson said about his son? Tyson's son said, "Dad, I want to become a boxer." And he said, "What? You look at you. You're soft as a motherfucker. You've had all creature comfort known to man." You know what I mean? I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "Think about it. You'd be meeting people like me." He told that story in his stand-up.
That's a good point, man. It's a difficult. The most difficult part I argue about being a professional fighter is the grind, the daily grind. It's not just do you have the skill, the ability, but then it comes the work ethic. Look at Chris Eubank Jr. He's got I've said it before. He's got physical talent, speed, power, but he doesn't really want to be in there. I mean, he wants to be a champion, but he sort of relegated himself to fighting these money fights. And then whenever he does step up against a contender,
YouTuber.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
well, it's just picking off you're just doing like money fights. Like he said, I transcend the belts. It's just about him. That's why he wants to fight the other famous guy from fucking England's son.
That is true. Jimmy, he takes it for granted, and I could kind of see how being the son of a champion is kind of like a double-edged sword. It's an extra burden. Because you have to step away from your father's shadows. Then, he's probably rich. Like Julio Cesar Chavez was a rich man, so obviously his sons benefited from that. So you're kind of like you don't suffer as much as the dad did. So therefore, you don't have to fight. But if you do, and like Julio Cesar Chavez and like Eubank, you will probably never be like your dad. But obviously, Tim Tszyu is doing something that he's not taking it for granted. He's kind of cut from the same cloth, and he's not taking anything for granted.
It's the hardship sport. It always has been. Starting from the coal mines of England, you know what I mean? All the way from Greece, it was always the toughest grunts just trying to, fight their way out of where they were. It's hard to become a professional fighter when you start off in silk sheets. Just is.
Or taking well, anyway, I was gonna make a dirty joke, but it's Sunday, so I can't do it. But by the way, hit the like, really helps us out. And before we move on from the Tim Tszyu fight, because we got a lot to get to, by the way, I remember what I wanted to say about Tim Tszyu. The commentators were besmirching him, the Spanish ones were besmirching him and criticizing him for his lack of activity. But I'm thinking, wait a minute, this guy is putting pressure. Yeah, he was throwing one punch at a time early on. But how come, again, this double standard, when a guy comes forward and throws one punch at a time, that's rudimentary, it's primitive, lacking skills. But when a guy does it going backwards, running around the ring excessively, throwing one shot at a time, and then clinching, just running, dancing, shaking that ass, that's the sweet science. I get it. It can be the sweet science, but I don't understand the double standard of overly criticizing a guy when he does it coming forward. Again, I can't wrap my head around that.
Exactly.
And by the way, Tim Tszyu.
It's like like I mentioned, if Tim Tszyu wouldn't had fought Tony Harrison, they would have said, "Oh, he's straight up and down," because the other dude does shake his ass and fucking he's kind of smoking mirrors. No, he's a good fighter, but what I'm basically saying, if you don't fight that type of style, they'll say, "Oh, you're limited. You're just very basic." But until you start beating these back foot fighters. You could kind of be honest to yourself and say, well, this style is actually effective and it works well. And it probably beat most back foot fighters. Because how many times have you seen that dude that gets on the tip of his toes? Like nowadays, with the exception of a very few, become world champions and keep the belt and defend the titles. Not so many, right? And they say the back foot fighter, he's fucking fast, he's elusive. And all these motherfuckers are getting chased down by the dudes that come forward. Get Caleb Plant. We don't have to make it racial. I'm just saying. That dude's a good boxer, but Canelo chased him down. And he's chased all these dudes. Well, it's not about Canelo. It's just an example.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Inoue, Lomachenko,
It's-
Chocolatito, these are guys that know how to cut the distance and make the fight. And that's what the rules say. Clean, effective punching and effective aggression.
It's fighters beating athletes. That's what it is. When basically what we get down to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that kid Tim Tszyu is a fighter. You know what I mean? So
Hey, by the way, one last thing about Tim Tszyu. Last criticism that I have about him, and again, if somebody comes in and says, "Oh, why you overly criticize him?" I gave him his props early on. Now we're in the critical stage here, or the criticism stage. He did take the last round off. Now, I don't know if that was because Brad Mendoza caught a final wind, and he did. By the way, in that last round, Mendoza did do a lot of things that he should have done earlier on. I don't know if that's because Tim Tszyu took the pedal off the metal, or it's because a combination of maybe what Mendoza did. But Mendoza was feinting more, and he was shooting throwaway shots, which kept Tszyu occupied. And it was a risky strategy to let that 12th round go, I gotta say, because those ESPN Spanish judges, commentators, they had, like I said, they had Mendoza ahead going into the 7th round, 5-1. So it's not unheard of or impossible that maybe one judge one day will be unimpressed by Tszyu's approach and give the other guy so many rounds, and letting that 12th round go could have been risky, or it was risky rather.
yeah, no, I'm a definite proponent of taking out that last round. The only way I'd forgive that is if his hand was hurt and he didn't want to say nothing, or clearly you don't want to let anybody know. Or he just, he shot his load. He had nothing left, and he knew he had enough left in his legs to stay up and make the round. Excuse me. But no, that's never a good strategy. I mean, for Christ's sakes, just look at the judging we see. You got to fight for every minute of every round. Like, you got to go into every round like you got that chick who fucking did Triple G's fight against that Canelo. Remember her, Addison Bird? You know what I mean? You gotta have that mindset. She could be fucking judging your fight. She should be taking it out of the hands of the judge, which that will good be. I got to talk about that with Janibek later.
Well, let's get to that.
Adelaide Bird, she cheated on her husband that night in her mind.
She definitely fucked Triple G.
Yeah, well, yeah, she reamed him long and hard. By the way, shout out to Greg Terrible for his contribution to the super chat. He says Mendoza has good defense. He lacked power with Tim. I mean, power's never really been Mendoza's problem. It's just couldn't really pin Tim Tszyu down. I mean, like I said, Tim Tszyu was making him work, making him react. So, I mean, Lavala did what he could. It never hurts to have Ismael Salas in your corner, but he could have Eddie Futch in there, and he wasn't beating Tim Tszyu that night. Shout out to Michael Poe, by the way, for his contribution super chat. He says, what do you guys think about Janibek? Shout out to Michael Poe. We're about to get to that. Speak of the devil. Janibek Akhmadali. No, what's his name? Akhmanulyev? Anyway, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but he ended up stopping.
They say Alimkhanuly, then they go Halala or something.
Yeah,
yeah, they say it so many different ways. It's nuts.
What's that? What's that Hawaiian liqueur? It's like chocolate liqueur that you use to make White Russians. Kahlua, or what's it called?
Kahlua.
Oh yeah,
Kahlua. Yeah,
Kahlua.
Let's call him Kahlua.
Yeah,
let's call him Kahlua. But anyway, he ended up scoring a 6-round stoppage over Vincenzo Gualtieri. I gotta say right off the bat, I got it completely wrong here, man. And I want to ask later on whether I underestimated Janibek or overrated Gualtieri, or maybe both. But what did you guys make of Kahlua?
Well, I'll give mine real quick here. It's a weird situation with him. I could see why people wouldn't thought this kid would win by past performance. Here's the kid's problem. He lacks a killer instinct. That's exactly what it is. And by being so good last night, you showed me that you didn't take other fights as serious. So when he knows the competition is going to be good, right? Is a lot on the line, or like a perceived somebody who's going to hurt him, because he had a lot of amateur fights. That's what happens with a lot of amateurs. They get cocky if they win a lot in the amateurs. So I believe that's kind of been his curse. because that was a one-way domination. And the fact that you fought like that and then have looked like you've looked recently, and then dapping the hands after every round, like his knockouts come as a result of his boxing and what his game plan is. He doesn't. It's not as a result as that's what his sole goal is. Difference. His would be Triple G, his countryman. He went in with a single-minded focus on one thing, knocking the motherfucker out. That's what he wanted. That's everything he did was going for the knockout. You got a kid in front of you who, when he's not afraid of your power, which this kid was, because by the second round, he didn't want to taste that uppercut again, that left hand. So you get a kid who already is light puncher with 7 knockouts, now not willing to put any weight over the front of his foot, doing nothing but avoiding getting punched. I just think he could have taken him out of there. He could have stepped on the gas. Another dude who feinted a lot. And these are criticisms because he's clearly talented. Feint, then do nothing with the feint. Throw 3 feints in a row and then let enough time go by to get the guy to realize, okay, he's throwing feints. Beware of that. I mean, the whole idea of a feint, you feint him, the guy bites, and then you jump on it right away.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so yes. But I can understand why. I mean, I was going by some of the things I've seen of him in the amateurs, and I saw, like some crazy talent in that kid. But then he would look just like off and just uninterested in other fights. So it's been a hard guy to kind of judge. But I think going forward, I mean, I think he's pretty much solidified himself. He's a nightmare for anybody at 160. That height, that length, and that punching power and accuracy.
Well, let me say
50% power punching.
I didn't want to break your flow, man, but there's a weird noise with your mic every time you speak. It's like a crunching sound.
Oh, really? Shit.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Let me
but
go
it's,
change location.
Right.
I'll change locations. All right.
Just want to piggyback
it's like
off what
Jimmy said last time. Yeah, sorry.
Let me just piggyback right off what he said. Yeah, because I want to get to that too later, maybe more in depth. That the fact that Janibek seems sort of uninterested, and let's just point something out. One of the reasons why I was highly skeptical of him, and I still am, by the way, is because if you look at most of his wins, it's against guys that Ryota Murata already ran through years ago. Rob Brandt, Hassan Endam, Stephen Butler, and then when he finally did step up somewhat against Denzel Bentley, he looked awful in that fight. So I don't know, man. Gonzalo, I know you were high on Goltieri, like myself, a little bit. I don't know if that was my fault. Maybe I overhyped him a little bit to you. But what did you think happened here?
Well, that's true. Like Jimmy said, and you're mentioning a lot of great points. You can only go off by the data that we have on so to speak, on a fighter, like the wins that you mentioned, Rob Brandon, all those guys that been beat by other guys, and they're older now. They're getting fed to Janibek, and obviously, okay, Janibek is beating them, but can we really tell what his true ceiling, his real ceiling is, right? Because like you mentioned, against Bentley, he looked kind of ordinary. Now against an undefeated fighter that I think he got gifted a belt too, but he lost it now, and Gultieri. Okay, I was like, damn, dude, this dude is cagey. But one thing that I didn't anticipate, once they met for the weigh-in, I was like, oh, this dude is fucking way bigger. Right, BM? So he got mollywopped, no pun intended, because I think he's Italian. But yeah, he got fucked up. He's a cagey dude, but he's much bigger. And one last thing, the thing about the Alimkhanuly, he throws straight punches, and he's longer. So he when he catches you, like I mentioned the other day, at the end of his punch, he can fuck you up. But I was thinking to myself, why is the shorter man staying on the outside and throwing hooks to that dude's straight punches? If you're shorter, and just by design, the hook is a punch that's going to be shorter against the straight punch, why don't you get up on that dude's chest, right? And kind of smother his straight shots and maybe get your shots in. Because if you're standing on the outside, good luck landing that shorter hook by design against his straight shots. I just thought that was kind of weird.
And that's why I was saying I always do the picks, Gonzalo. After I remember how many times you hear me say, I want to wait to see the weigh-in. I just want to see them side by side. You know what I mean? And the same thing, I remember the other night when I saw the win, I'm like, God damn, he is a lot bigger than that dude. And what he also utilizes it, he fights sideways. He's a southpaw, and he throws his left across his body, so he hides it well. And by turning kind of sideways, he's not very squared up. So when you're taller like that and you're fighting off your shoulder, You can get caught if somebody jumps in going backwards. Like you're receptible to somebody's right cross if they can get in on you. But he has good enough feet, and he stays kind of on the ball of his feet. So he's kind of like springing. So he's almost in a Bivol type style, like he's, that European style to bounce back and forth. He's got good sized calves. So again, I just believe he lacks killer instinct. I think that's the major difference between him and Triple G. Triple G just didn't want to dap your gloves. He wanted to take your fucking head off.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, he said it himself, and they made a point to raise that during the telecast where they said that Triple G was branded with the Mexican style moniker, whereas Kalua here, Janibek, he wants to emphasize the Kazakh style. And look, I give him a lot of credit because, yeah, this guy might have been smaller, perhaps overrated, but he's a cagey guy. And at least Janibek proved he ain't no Esquiva Falcao. He's much better than that. He's very skilled, underrated power. At least he takes guys out. Now, there's a couple of problems, though, with his career. Not with the skill thing, although Jimmy did point out there might be a lack of a killer instinct there. But in terms of his career, that's also another different type of problem here because you look at his record, and I brought this up in the last show. He fought twice in 2021, twice in 2022, twice in 20... Well, now it's been 3 times, so at least he got a... No, excuse me, now it's been twice now in 2023. Probably not going to fight before the end of the year again. He's 30 years of age. He's not exactly spring chicken. So fighting twice a year, is that going to keep his skills sharp? Is he going to improve? And also the second problem with that, which is connected to that, is who else is there for him to fight? You've got Liam Smith, who's, I mean, obviously he could beat him. Felix Cash, who I don't think he's fought in over 2 years. Elijah Garcia, who's with the PBC, he's only 20 years old, so good luck with that one happening anytime soon. This Kazakh guy, Nursul Tlanov, I don't know if they fight each other, but he's a decent dude. But again, it's not really going to move the Geiger scale. Chris Eubank Jr., that probably doesn't happen. Sergey Davidachenko, is, been there, done that with that dude. Lara hasn't fought. He was supposed to fight Danny Garcia 2 months ago, and that fell through with Showtime. They never explained why. Carlos Adames with the PBC. Then you've got Janibek. Then you got Golovkin, who last time we saw him, he was buying an extra large bag of Cheetos at the supermarket. I mean, he's pretty much retired at this point. So, guys, what is there for Janibek to do in this division?
Just take out whatever belts, unify the division, go after who has the belts. The problem is Jermell Charlo has one. For over 2 years, has not bought the WBC, treating a Kazakhstan fighter like a fucking, human toilet. Like, fucking show this kid respect now. You better be on the phone with Jermell. Get out of your funk, son, or it's time to give up the belt and put it up for a vacant fight. Because that's bullshit. Over 2 years now, that's enough. Here's a kid. He's, like you said, 30 years old. But the thing is, you don't hear Charlo fans calling for that fight, ever. Just weird. They called for Triple G after he's out of the division or 40 years old. But they never said his name when he was fucking taking people's heads off. Same thing with Johnny Beck. You don't hear anybody, his fans calling for that fight. So there's no real Americans calling for the fight. So pressuring the WBC to do stuff, which I think people need to start doing.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a problem. I mean, there might be a silver lining to the Showtime getting away from the PBC that, like Chief said a while back, that they might be cutting the cost, cutting inventory. With this everything must go sale, maybe they let, what's his name, Adames fight Janibek. Because what else are they going to do with Adames too? It's. I mean, neither guy is going to make that much money. So why not try to make as much money as possible fighting each other? It's a long shot. But you just never know. But yeah, Janibek is in a bit of a precarious position here because there's not really there to fight him. And by the way, Andrade, who many people have called the Boogeyman in boxing, refused to fight him. So what does that make Janibek? El Cucuy? I mean, what's bigger than a Boogeyman? The devil? Lucifer himself? I don't know, man. Maybe that's how. Maybe that's how
nothing to do with that fight.
Maybe that's how he should start marketing himself. Hey, the Boogeyman fear me. That means I'm a fucking devil.
There you go.
He's got the added. He's also a southpaw, so that makes him difficult, even for another left-hander. That's like, because you don't see that nowadays. You get it more. It happens more so than before. but it's kind of like not that common. You know, a lefty versus a lefty.
Mhm.
You get a righty versus a righty, a lefty versus a lefty. A righty versus a lefty, but a lefty versus a lefty. Damn.
I mean, hey, listen,
Yeah.
it could be that type of outlook or scenario, but again, we need to see more of Janibek, and the fact that he's only fighting twice a year, and he's probably not. I mean, look, I'm looking at the rankings here, by the way. Hold on, we usually avoid doing this because we don't really give a crap about this type of titles. But I was looking at the rankings here because he's got 2 belts now. I don't know what if they're super belts or interim belts, whatever. But he's got the IBF title and the WBO. If you look at the rankings here, the first 2 spots are vacant, and then there's a guy named Radovan, who's 17-0, German dude, possibly one of those German dudes that's fucking strong but can't hit worth the lick. And that's probably the type of guy that they're gonna place him in there against next. Because I mean, who else is there? Then if you look at the IBF rankings for that IBF title that he has. Where is it? No, excuse me. That was the IBF. He's got the WBO too, from what I understand. And I think Chris Eubank is the whatchamacallit, what do you call it? Yeah, the number 1 guy there. Not I don't know if he's been. Yeah, he hasn't been mandated yet, but that's the number 1 guy. But again, Chris Eubank probably not gonna fight Janibek anytime soon. So there's not that much going for. He doesn't have that much going for him right now. There it is.
Adames was carrying some momentum, but that kind of got killed off, like because he was pursuing the WBC title. He was even going to the convention and putting in like a formal complaint, or basically, I don't know what he were maybe saying. Okay, I'll wait on him, doing the honorable thing. There's no honor among these, man. There's not only the WBC is not only protecting Charlo, but they're affecting other fighters. So that's like where it's like, dude, what are they doing, man? It's like a buzz killer for everybody.
Absolutely, man. It's his fucking titles. But I mean, this might be the type of scenario where he's got no choice. He's going to have to fight a bunch of mandatories because there's just not that much going on in the division. And by the way, the BA board of directors is instructing me to end the show if we don't get to 100 likes. We got 147 people watching, only 57 likes. They're telling me that's deplorable, that's disgusting. They're also telling me they're going to be taking money off the BDA account and siphoning it off to the Middle East to beef up the war over there. So, guys, we don't want that happening. It's bad enough over there already. So, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Really helps us out with the algorithm.
I mean, come on. What do you guys got? Like fucking thumb polio? You guys can't fucking, you know?
Yeah, they got
just,
crippled
what does it
fingers,
take to smash the like button?
Hey, BDA, not to change the subject before I forget, because I know you mentioned about the Venezuelan commentators, how they were like off and you don't know where they're getting their info. But did you hear Tim Bradley say about Canelo that everybody seems to think that Canelo have no skills now? They say, okay, skills pay the bills. Terrence Crawford got the skills, but then Canelo's not going to land the glove on him. So what is Canelo now? No skills at all? He's got skills too. They're all of a sudden, they're just saying that he got the size. I don't understand where all of a sudden they're seeing it like that. Just because he's a bigger dude doesn't mean that he doesn't have skills either. It's a weird thing here in Timothy Bradley. A guy that's had a lot of experience, and I respect his boxing takes because he has a lot of knowledge. But he's just fucking acting like real suspect to me.
I'm telling you, if you're not dancing around the ring, moving excessively, shooting one punch at a time and clinching, shaking that ass, you're not skilled. That's just the reality. Going forward, even if you got great defense, if you're feinting, if you're making the other guy work while doing the bare minimum yourself, conserving energy, cost-effective style, and then breaking a guy down, that's not skill, man. That's just strength. That's all it is for these guys. They don't understand. Possibly, look, I hate to have to pull this card off, but people often say, "Oh, you've never boxed before. You've never boxed before." I can tell. Well, I can tell these guys have never boxed before, or they've only boxed in the United States because they're enamored with the ass style, the American slick style. Run around, punch one punch at a time, shake that ass. I mean, come on, sorry. You gotta give. I give both styles credit when they're done correctly, but give the pressure fighter his credit too. It takes skill to be able to do what a guy like Canelo does. Otherwise, I'll say this. If it was so easy to do, Jimmy, if it was so easy to do, wouldn't people then boxers just, lift a bunch of weights, roid up, and just come barge forward? If it's that easy, everybody would be doing it, right?
There's more into this, let's be honest. I mean, Tim, Hall of Fame fighter, he probably needs this gig with ESPN. I'm sure he has money put aside, but He's smart enough to know to a family what he made of his career. He just needs to make more money. Canelo has like buku dollars. Like he's on Forbes top, 10 athlete, 3 years in a row now. He was number 5 in 2022. Made well over $100 million. This dude's got crazy fucking endorsement deals and companies and shit. This guy's got, when you're that big and you're running the show, fighters who do what you do, they're all jealous, bro. They just it's such a jealous. It's all the way to the amateurs. The fucking best amateur kid, all the other kids are jealous of him, talk shit of him. They just do the same thing in pros. Just because Tim Bradley knows boxing, right? He's got a great boxing eye, but that's some envy right there. Because Canelo is an extremely hard man to hit. What do you think? That's by accident? If he's just a fire plug strong dude, just stands there, then tee off on his head. But you can't put a glove on him. So that's just it defies logic by what you're saying. It's okay. Then why isn't Plant, the slick fighter, fucking taking him out? Why didn't Charlo, the athletic kid, you know what I mean? With the slick jab. Everybody's saying his jab, that's going to be the thing. Because Canelo just kind of moves forward looking for the shot. Please.
I mean, Jimmy, speaking of
jealousy, or there's something else involved.
You don't remember what Steven Jackson said about Inoue, Jimmy? He said he's not that good a boxer, man. He's just strong. He's just strong as hell. So that's what it is with Canelo. He's just strong as hell, like an ox.
I'm telling you, man.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, it's. Hey, but by the way, we can relate to Canelo about the envy and the jealousy. I mean, we go through that every day. Everybody here on the panel because of our good looks, or urbane wit, or sheer wisdom. I mean.
Well, Miss Mia, it's the same thing with the whole debate on Twitter. Every time I go on that cesspool, it's always the same thing. You get these loudmouth knuckleheads that say, well, Gervonta's the face of boxing. Regardless if somebody will tweet to him, say, using every metric you would gauge success by, whether it's money, ticket sales, pay-per-view sales, endorsements, everything, Canelo is easily the face of boxing, and they just keep yelling, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, then it's what's driving that? There's something else driving that, and with a certain group of people, they can't stand the fact that a Mexican is the undisputed face of boxing.
I mean, yeah, it's I tried doing a show on that, a call-in show last Thursday, and I started feeling dirty. Or dirtier than usual. I started scratching my skin, going, "This is disgusting." The fact that this is even a point of discussion for some people is disgusting, man. It's absurd. I'll tell you what's absurd as well. By the way, we got shout out to Never Sobers. We jumped back here. We got a lot going on here. I'm having difficulty keeping track of it, but sticking to that one last thing here about the Canelo thing, it takes us to Charlo. This is what I wanted to bring up. Sean Porter recently came out. Giving his thoughts on Charlo's performance or non-performance, as it were. He said he didn't get stopped, talking about Charlo, but he showed us who you are. You aren't going to step up. His incendiary interview often ended with Charlo screaming out Lions own. Okay, anyway, yeah. He said, Porter said, the only Lions you're talking about, you're not going to do that. You have no ability to just let me dog it out. I mean, this is what I was trying to tell. I was talking about this with Bucho, and I said, look, you can't say that Charlo has no balls at all, because he has shown courage before. He has shown strength before, mental fortitude. But not everybody, people aren't brave all the time. And against Canelo, he lacked that bravery. Now, I'm not going to excuse it. I'm not going to justify it, because, like I said, it was the biggest fight of his life, the biggest platform. He's never going to get another big fight like this ever again. A big payday. We, the boxing customers, are paying a lot. I had to shell out 120 clams, that's Canadian dollars, to watch this one. And the guy shows up there, and then he has the goal at the end to say, well, at least I didn't get knocked out. Meaning, hey, after a while there, I just wanted to survive. I'm sorry, man. If you're getting paid that much money, you're on the biggest stage of your life. This is the biggest fight of your life. This is the last shot you'll ever get at this type of magnitude event. You gotta step it up a little bit. I understand. Oh, he could have got knocked out. Well, if you're getting paid 15 mil, I would expect you to take a risk. I'm sorry. That's my expectation.
Yeah, honestly, in hindsight, he is that type of fighter that's, He's a counter puncher. So only until when you make a mistake, he'll try to capitalize off that mistake. He did it with Castano too. So by design, the dude's not throwing a lot of punches like to start off. And with Canelo, when he saw that he couldn't put a dent in him, it's like, it's futile. What's the point? So basically, yes, he did have to open up and risk more, but just it wasn't in his fucking boxing DNA to begin with as a counter puncher.
And then, here's the key point with Charlo. The reason why I gave him no shot, I just almost I called it a cash grab right from the get-go. All right, here's the thing with him. He loses as many rounds as he wins. That's an important key. This kid loses as many, if not more, than he wins. Stephen Redwood Edwards talked about this. Whereas, who's the guy Canelo lost to? Bivol, who's maybe lost 3 rounds in his professional career, for Christ's sakes. Point being, his power has always bailed him out. When you're a guy whose power has always bailed you out when you're losing rounds, and you know your shot just bounced off that fucking Gallon-Neck's head, and you're like, shit, I'm worm food now. And then you just mail it in, and then have the audacity to say, well, I believe I get in the Hall of Fame. That's up to you guys. Like, really? So maybe that's why you took that fucking fight off. Like, just absolutely abhorrent, but fucking to do what he did. Just a black eye to the sport. Yeah. I believe he's been silent. He hasn't been on Twitter since that fight, right? He's been silent, I think.
I believe. Well, I mean, yeah, I think other than the post-fight press conference, I think he's been MIA. He's probably enjoying his money. That's why some people said that they're skeptical about Tszyu fighting Charlo, or rather Charlo fighting Tszyu, because he's probably thinking, well, I just made the biggest payday of my life. Why do I have to go in there against a younger, hungry fighter who's on a great run? I mean, I don't know. Maybe, hopefully he does fight him, but that's what some people are. I'm just relaying the fact that some people are skeptical that Charlo's going to return anytime soon. The other thing I wanted to mention is, because we're going to get to the the circus fights that took place too last evening. Somebody on Twitter said, and I forget who it was, and I forget which one of those YouTube fighters he said it about, but he said, you got to give these guys credit for stepping in between the ropes, through the ropes and stepping into the ring. And I said, well, okay, look, I think we can all agree that it does take balls to step inside the ring. But that's not where it ends. It's not just, you step into the ring and that's it. You go home. You got to step into the ring and then perform. So by that metric, we can all agree that, okay, if you get into the ring, you start out at number 3 or number 2, right? Whatever metric you want to go by. You give that guy a little bit of credit for stepping in through the ropes and into the ring. But now how about how you perform, though? If you take one shot and go, oof, I don't want to take another one, let me just take a dive. Do we still have to keep respecting that guy? I mean, it's just people don't talk about that on social media.
Should I deserve credit if I said, fuck it, pay me $15 million? I'll drag my old ass in there, let fucking Canelo knock me out. I mean, all it is a bang, your fucking lights go out, you wake up, oop, I'll go to Bora Bora and let the fucking Tower Boy make fun of me. I don't give a fuck. Should I get credit because I was willing to let that fucking kid make fun of me? You know what I mean? Uh-huh. No, it's bullshit. No. You're a professional fighter. You represent a sport that is fully funded by fans. And you go out there, lay an egg, and then look into a camera and talk about Hall of Fame. And at least I didn't get knocked out. Oh, great, dude. What was the fight in the parking lot after fucking 7th period? Fucking jackass.
Yeah, man. I mean, this whole thing about, these guys, you got to give them their credit, man. Yeah, I'll give them a modicum of credit. And if they don't deliver the result that we want, sorry. It's the result, like I said, I keep saying it. I'm not paying for a service. I'm paying for a result. The result is you give it your best. You give it your all. And if you don't, guess what? You're going to get criticized. Sorry. We got to move on here.
At least Caleb Plant tried. I mean, for all that amount of money that he got, I mean, that's a lot of money. I forget, dude. Like, I've seen that amount of money on TV, like in the Loomis Fargo fucking documentary. That's a lot of money, man. Over 10 million in a fucking vault. Like when that dude put it in the van, that's like bags and bags of money. Like that's for life.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, man. And you would expect the guy to step it up at some point.
These guys, just quickly, these guys are getting into the ring
because they're doing a job. They're performing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting in the ring to prove something to themselves, or this is a personal journey. That no, this at this point you're a prize fighter. You have to perform.
Absolutely.
Like I could step into a ring, I could do something crazy, risky, and because of a personal journey that I have, I want to prove. No. People are paying to watch you fight, so you have an obligation to put on a good performance.
Absolutely. Look at that. Butcher just jumps in and jumps out and delivers the pay. That's how it's supposed to be done, by the way. You punch and then you move. But after you punch, you can move. Don't just move all over the place. And that's, Butcher's right, man. It's not hey, I came here to prove something to myself, to my family. Okay, so essentially what you're saying is fuck everybody else. Everybody that paid hard-earned money to watch you fight.
What did he say? The life's journey or something? That was great. That was a great analogy.
Absolutely.
Jumps in, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada
throws
boom.
a two-piece and jumps back out.
Oh, but I wanted to say something, man. We got a lot to get to here. Let's talk about the Keyshawn Davis fight, because that's another guy that people are very high on, and he fought Albright, who very wily character. Well, at least not necessarily wily, but he had speed too. He had they put him in there against a quick guy who could rival Keyshawn Davis' speed, and Davis. I'll say this, man. Very good skills, very good quickness. He did mix up the shots, even though it was one shot at a time. That's my criticism, this one shot at a time thing. But he evidently has the seasoning, the amateur seasoning, and the what should I call it? He's got skills to be able to control a quick guy like Albright. But then, as it happened in his last fight, the last 2 rounds kind of shaky. And when he did try to pressure, he started getting hit a lot. Got rocked with a big right hand, and then late in the fight, the last 30 seconds, he seemed to all of a sudden run out of gas, to the point where the ESPN commentators, before they interviewed him, they go, it'll be interesting to talk with him, see what was wrong with him. It's like, what was wrong with him? Well, why are they making excuses for his... again, he didn't look bad, save for the last 2 rounds. So, I don't know, what did you guys make of Keyshawn Davis' performance?
He got countered and he got shook. And after he got countered, right before the bell rang, he raised his arms and started flexing, trying to show people that he wasn't. And we know when fighters do that, it's obviously he was fucking hurt. Right? He's lucky that was the end of the round. The thing is that I see now, look, obviously when you start your career, more likely than not, you're facing slightly smaller fighters than you. So I'm saying this to say that Keyshawn is a strong fighter for the division. He's generally going to be bigger than his opponent. He's stepping it up now, but look, all of a sudden that KO percentage starts going down, and he's not facing the elites yet. Now it's 10 wins with 6 KOs. Going down the future, down the line, that KO is going to be all of a sudden, he's not looking like the power puncher that maybe we thought he was. Especially like you said, one punch at a time, the counter puncher approach, kind of admiring his work as he throws and he's getting countered like that. So those are just fucking red flags, in my opinion. It's more about the talking than the actual doing, that being aware at all times in the ring. You can't be oh, I'm gonna walk out with my grandma shorts with all the names stenciled on there and trying to put on a show before the fight, right? You have to stay focused in there.
It's not easy. That's why it is a test to transition from the amateurs to the pros, because okay, you can stay focused for 3 rounds. Can you do that for 8 rounds, 10 rounds, 12 rounds, which is, the pinnacle and the hope for many of these guys that they're going to make it to that level. 24 years of age, by the way. So there's room for improvement. He looked good. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, say for the last 2 rounds. But Solbers or Jimmy, what did you guys make of his performance?
Well, I've been one of the guys who've been big on him, like his skills. I see the same thing that Timothy Bradley sees, and I'm sure you guys see the same things, but I like his footwork. I like everything this kid does. But here's the problem. Just because you spar nonstop with Terrence Crawford, you hang out with Terrence Crawford, you're not Terrence Crawford yet. You still got to put in the work. He's out there throwing, he's trying to be too selective with his punch. He's trying to, you know what I mean? He's got to let his hands go. There was many opportunities he could have thrown, but he was trying to throw the perfect punch. And that's great. Listen, he's a talented kid, but that's not the place to do that. I like the fact that he did take those big shots, because that kid caught him. and that kid could have had some stink on his punches too. So it shows that the kid has a jaw. I mean, he's sparring Terrence Crawford and all those guys. He's in the fucking, that's, I'm sure, animalistic sparring sessions. So, and Terrence Crawford's always had this kid, like, when he doesn't really throw around compliments much, he's always talked high on him too. But he still hasn't matured enough to be, you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, he's got to pick it up more. He's got to let his hands go. He needs to look at that tape, and someone has to be honest with him. And I hope Terrence will say, bro, you got to start throwing hands. There's opportunities for you to hit. Don't try to be too perfect. He's trying to become a superstar when he's still in that phase where he's working himself in the contender ranks. It'll come if you work hard and you do the work. Don't get so caught up in the fucking. Well, he's a talker and he's kind of funny. He does kind of crack me up sometimes. I mean, but he puts a lot of thought and effort into the mask and coming into the ring and all that shit. But you're just not there yet. Some guys, when they start acting like they're there before they're there, it has a negative effect. I guess that's what I got on that.
That's well said. We've seen many a prospect go down a wayward path. Never Sobers, what do you think? What did you think of Keyshawn Davis' performance?
I think Keyshawn Davis, bro, I've never been that impressed with him. I don't think that he's a bad fighter. Like, he got some skills. But as far as looking for world-class talent, I don't think he's there. I think he's like a level below. I think someone like him and Frank Martin would be a very 50-50 fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he's world content. I don't think he's world class. I don't think he'll be there. I don't see it with him. And
welcome to Blog.
Well, they've been talking about, is it him and Frank Martin that are going at it on Twitter, or I think it's everybody in the line?
Oh yeah, for over a year.
Okay. Now, I mean, listen, say what you want about Frank Martin's last performance, but I don't think Keyshawn Davis is there yet to take on a guy like that.
So yeah, I'm saying, like, Frank Martin might beat him. You know what I mean? I don't think he's better than him, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? And I don't think Frank Martin is world-class level.
See, Frank Martin, for me, though, he's smaller. He's shorter than Davis. He's on the shorter side. He's more of a
135, weren't they? Or is Davis at 140?
No, they're both at 135.
For the moment.
I think it's for the length, too. I think because that kid he fought last night, he was undefeated, too, right? That kid he fought?
He had two losses.
Was he not?
He had two losses. He
did he have two losses? Okay, but it was definitely a step up. I mean, again, how many fights does a kid have? 10?
I believe so. Yeah, 10.
Yeah. So when
yeah.
Yes, I mean, he's just got 10 fights, so it's like, and it's part of his own fault because he's so active on social media and talks a lot. Again, it's acting like you're there before you arrived, and because of that, you think, oh, he's only got 10 fights. So, yeah, no, personally, just again, this is my opinion. I think he would wash Frank Martin. Absolutely, just so because he's tailor made. Frank Martin's slower and he's shorter, and Keyshawn's accurate with his punches. I just think that it would have to be somebody like Shakur would beat him, because right now definitely because of the speed and the hands and this jab. But I just don't think Frank Martin. It's not so much. I just know I'm not that high on Frank Martin. I don't think he's as good as some people think. But he's not at the elite. But even at the elite level right now, who is it? You got Tank Davis, who really doesn't even. I mean, come on, we can't even count him a part of the sport. He's on the periphery, doing his own thing.
Yeah, the size. Now that
you mentioned it, he needs another 10 fights.
I think he would beat Keyshawn Davis.
Who? Martin?
Tank Davis.
Oh, Tank Davis.
Maybe that guy arts him.
Yeah, man. I mean, look,
I
listen.
think that him and Frank Martin would be 50-50, bro. I don't think nothing about him like particularly stands out. Like he's not particularly fast or particularly strong or not. Like, you know what I mean? He has some skills, but kind of like Tevin Farmer, bro. That's what he reminds me of. Without the wonky eye. I'll
say this about Keyshawn Davis. First of all, the size. Yeah, that's one thing we can't overstate against Frank Martin, because I don't know how tall they are, but if Keyshawn Davis is bigger than Martin, hey, we just saw what happened between Janibek and Galtieri. But I'll say this about Keyshawn Davis is, he was taking his time, Tim Bradley said. And Tim Bradley said this is what he does. He exhausts guys. He exhausts his opponents. I'm thinking, that's what Tim Tszyu does. That's what Golovkin used to do. That's what that's what Inoue does. That's what Lomachenko does. They stand in front of you and they try to push you back with feints and then punching and the footwork. Keyshawn Davis just stands there and he tries to punch shot. At least he's not running though. I give him credit for that. But he's relying on one punch at a time, and that's what I was saying early in the beginning of the show is how come a lot of these guys they're not being taught how to pressure, how to make the fight happen, how to take the fight to their opponent? Because you saw when Keyshawn Davis finally decided to try to go for it late in the fight, and he got caught with a big right hand. His chin was up in the air. He got snapped all the way back. It's like that is becoming the lost art, being able to pressure. I think it's because we saw guys like Mayweather in the last 20 years, and that's who a lot of these new generation fighters grew up watching. So they want to emulate that. But they don't understand that what happens if you get outboxed? What are you going to do then? Do you have a plan B, which is to make the fight happen? Or are you just going to keep dancing around the ring, shaking that ass?
To me, that's a big problem. Like for a fighter, like a counter puncher, like Keyshawn Davis, who's strong, it's basically the same thing as admiring your work. You're punching, and then you're trying to see what's going to happen next instead of like in real time putting another combination behind that combination, because it's the more you start facing tougher fighters, the less you're going to be able to hurt them with one punch. So if you're just lingering there to see if you hurt the guy, and basically if I hurt him, okay, well, he's hurt, why not just go at it automatically? Like mentally, just fucking let your hands go like that. I'm not saying that you need to be a pressure fighter. Yeah, you could still put not a lot of volume. You could throw stiff punches and be smart about it, but don't just wait there after throwing one shot, because in real time shit happens like back and forth, and it's like you're fighting in slow motion, dude, and you're not gonna hurt these fighters in the future, so you're gonna get countered back, and that's what I worry about that for a fighter like him. He's gonna get fucking picked apart in the future.
I mean, I don't know, picked apart, because he's good. Don't get me wrong, but you know, like off strength in the chat is saying pressure fighting is difficult. Your offense has to be as good as your defense. But that's the thing, though. Davis has good offense. He did hurt Albright, by the way. We didn't talk about that. He did stun him in the 7th or 8th round, I believe. So he has firepower. But now it becomes a question of, do you have the mechanics to do it? And that's the point I'm raising there. Is a lot of these guys, they're content with just standing back and winning the fight one punch at a time. We saw that with Hitchinson against Cepeda. And he goes, well, Cepeda's a tough guy. He can crack. Yeah, but at some point, if you got him softened up, you can take him out. You get the firepower. Now the problem is, A, you don't want to, or B, you can't. You don't have the confidence, or you don't have the mechanics, the defense, the chin tucked in, the ability to close a distance properly, the feinting. That's what's lacking with a lot of these guys. And guess what? Like Gonzalez said, it's going to cost them down the line. When they start fighting a guy that cannot box them from the outside, or it's 50-50 on the outside, what are they going to do? Can they step it up? Or are they just going to double down and make faces and grimaces and talk to the crowd and play to the crowd and hope and pray that they get the decision? Shout out to Danny in the chat for his contribution to the super chat. He says, why did Dylan Dennis charge after Logan Paul? It looked like Logan didn't want to intentionally hit Dylan while he was down. he definitely hit him, man. We're going to talk about that. But we've been on the air for about more than an hour. So let's take a couple of phone calls here. See what the people are saying. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. It really helps us out with the algorithm. And we said we needed to get to 100 likes, and we're at 89. So we're going to have to wrap it up pretty soon if you guys don't get us to 100 likes. Look, it's not up to me, man. It's the BDA board of directors with a lot of the last names, by the way, they end with gold, Man and Berg a lot. So these guys aren't playing around, fellas. So help us out. Let's go to our phone call. Let's go to the phone. Well, I didn't say that. You did. But let's go to the phone lines here. Let's go to 619. 619, you're in the air. 619, what's on your mind?
What's up? Good morning, guys. Yeah, I'm just calling in, giving my review. I actually fell asleep, man. I couldn't watch the fight live, but I watched the highlights this morning, and I wasn't surprised with the 12 rounds, man, because I listened to the post-fight interviews, and Tszyu said that Mendoza was tough as nails, and that Mendoza went there with do or die. You would have to kill him to have him quit, or he was gonna go out in the shield, as he said. I didn't even know that he had a Cuban he's from a Cuban family. He just raised around Mexicans and stuff. But yeah, he's a pretty good fighter. And I was hearing Tszyu said that it wasn't. He was kind of like a hard target because he would move a lot side to side. He has a little bit of that Cuban style, and that's the reason that he said that Tszyu wouldn't throw as many punches because he said you can't just go in there and start throwing crazy punches because obviously you're gonna miss, and if you miss you're gonna get tired. So, and Mendoza didn't make any excuses. He just said that Tszyu was he carried out his game plan better, and that's what ended up happening. But as far as Tszyu, yeah, I think he's a good fighter, but I wouldn't put him up there right away in the class of being better than his dad because his dad fought all kinds of competition in an era where it was full of killers out there. But that's my take on that. And also, I my opinion is that since Crawford is not fighting, he doesn't want to fight Charlo because of his performance that he had against Canelo. Why can't they? And Tszyu says he doesn't want. He only wants big fights now. All fighters are gonna want big money fights, man. That's what it is, man. Why can't they make Tszyu versus Charlo, and then Charlo, because he said he didn't want to fight Jermell. He should fight Tszyu and try to go for undisputed at 154, and maybe after that he could go to 160 instead of fighting Canelo and become like a 4-time undisputed world champion.
Excellent point.
But anyway, that's my call.
All right, Jose. Well, good to hear from you. Thank you for your call, and call back next time. Take it easy out there.
All right.
All right, that was Jose. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like. Yeah, hit the like. Really helps us out with the algorithm. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 336. 336, you're on the air. 336, what's on your mind?
All right, so I'll make this quick, and I have a lot to talk about. The Ayala and Alvarado fight was the best fight of from last night. I had it 114, 113 either way. I couldn't catch the 12th round. I think that's kind of what mattered most. I missed the 12th round, but it was a great fight. And those were two guys in the top 10, Ring Magazine at flyweight. So now Ayala is the IBF mandatory. So maybe he fights Bam Rodriguez. I'm assuming Bam Rodriguez beats Sonny Edwards, by the way. So I guess he beats Bam Rodriguez or whatever. Or not beats, he fights Bam Rodriguez. I don't think Ayala beats Bam Rodriguez. Or what could end up happening is maybe he gets a shot at another title holder or something like that if they're willing to give it to him, whatever it might be. But he's definitely now a top 5 guy-ish and around the division. Yeah, he was rated 6 before fighting Alvarado and beating him. He might be at 5 now. So that was a really, really good fight. With Janibek, I thought he was going to get Gualtieri out of there in 8 or 9, and he got him out of there in 6, so that was pretty impressive. I know the middleweight division isn't very deep, but I was saying on Sober's Takieta stream, 2 weeks ago that I could see Janibek and Canelo fighting potentially in 18 months. He's like a dark horse opponent that nobody talks about as a future opponent. I could see Janibek fight Canelo at some point in his career.
I mean, hey, that'd be an interesting one. I got to catch
it with more experience. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. Sorry.
Okay. And then with the Tim Tszyu Mendoza fight, I'd rate Tim Tszyu's performance a B-. He's not active enough, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that he has really good shot placement, and perhaps he doesn't want to let his hands go too much because it might make him used to, perhaps not countering as well, or as he's on the front foot pressuring you, not landing that shot that he wants to land. Because he had Mendoza pretty much figured out by round 7. He took round 12 off. I had it 8-4. It was I could argue 7-5 if you're just doing it based off of scoring rounds and shit, but he smashed him in a sense in the second half of the fight. He really did. And had Tim Tszyu started sooner, by round 4 or 5, he would have got him up out of there. In round 10 or 11, he would have stopped Mendoza. And Mendoza was a top 3 guy in the division, at least top 5. So now I don't know what Charcoal's going to do. He might fight Tim Tszyu, or if he fights his IBF mandatory. If he fights his IBF mandatory, I'd like to see, which I don't think he will because there's not enough money in that, but let's say he does. I'd like to see Tim Tszyu. I wish he would have fought Mano Ramos, but he got robbed, so he's going to have to fucking nail, that Crip Lubin in his fucking career, so I don't mind seeing that either. And I think, he just needs to let his hands go more. I mean, he has really, really good shot placement. He pressures very well and shit like that. And, it drains his opponents and whatnot, but he needs to let his hands go. And he could really get some of these higher level guys up out of there. Obviously, he's not his dad yet, but I was a little bit disappointed that he didn't stop him because I really believe he had all the tools to do it, and he started too late. Really, I mean, he still won convincingly, but he could have got a guy like Brian Mendoza out of there, and I hope he takes that to his next fight, especially if it's not Charlo, because I don't know if Charlo. Some people are saying Charlo ain't never fighting at 54 again, and that's probably the case. So he'd probably have to chase him at 160. But Tim Tszyu doesn't really have the frame to be any bigger than 160, to be honest with you. He's not very long or tall. He's a bit, sturdy and shit. But he's not a big dude. I don't see him fighting in multiple divisions, kind of like how his dad was. And one last thing,
or 5'9",
people are going to keep calling Tim Tszyu a paper People are going to keep calling Tim Tszyu a paper champion. Here's the reality of it. Tim Tszyu has fought, 3 times since Charlo fought his last opponent. Charlo hasn't fought since May of 2022. He was mandated to fight Tim Tszyu and chose not to. He was mandated by a sanctioning body. You got these Hanky supporters saying, Haney was somehow not a paper champ when he was never mandated to fight Lomachenko. And even after Loma lost to Teofimo Lopez, he never sent him an offer, never called him out. All he did was talk shit with his fucked up shoulder on a fucking hospital bed. Just being a liar. That's just what it is. He lies with impunity.
All right, Dora,
he's a fucking fraud. And that's why I gotta hold you. Tim Tszyu is a real champion. He's a real, legitimate champion, and he's recognized as such. Because it's fucking, that's it. All right.
All right, Dora. Thank you for your call. Yeah, because I gotta stop you at some point because he hung up. All right, shout out to Dora. By the way, every time Dora calls in, I gotta put up the
VDA.
What was that? What'd you say, Nevers?
I said he said, let me say this real quick. You know what I mean? He said he was gonna say it real fast.
Well, he does live up to it. He does say it quite fast. But I always got to put up the disclaimer every time he calls in. Look, the views espoused here by the panelists, some of the callers, and the people in the chat are not representative of the BDA organization. I always got to say that. But he did make a lot of good points, as always. Don't forget to hit
Dora
the like
knows Dora knows as much what happened with Lomachenko and the facts behind that whole Haney situation as anybody. So he does know what he's talking about when he goes on that. He just brings it very aggressively.
That's right. Aggressively is the key word right there. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. Let's go back to the phone lines here. Let's go to who is next? I think it was this one. 713. You're on the air. 713. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. 713.
Hello?
What's up?
Can you hear me? Yeah, about this weekend's fight recap. Tim is actually a contender. He's getting to be a pretty good contender. Brian Mendoza, to me, he didn't lack the power, but he was like his defense was pretty good. Because I noticed when Tim was throwing shots, he was ready to move his hand at all times. That's probably why Tim's jab didn't do so good. Because Brian was always parrying his shot, ducking under him, and tilting his head. He was good. He just, to me, he lacked the power. Another thing, this fight shows you when you get away from the PBC narrative at Showtime. And I don't know why I didn't speak on it before. Like HBO was HBO for a reason, right? But all the promoters had access to HBO. Main event, Golden Boy, Top Rank, that Lou DiBella, and that star promoter, the guy that it's a small promotional outfit.
Right.
But and Showtime is all PBC. That's why no other fighters can go over there. Really, they just don't. Promoters, really, they're just stuck to PBC. And Showtime's this fight was a treat because Tim is not under PBC. They might have a little icon, but they're not under him. He fought a PBC fighter his last couple of fights, but hey, he's getting pushed more compared to the rest of the PBC roster. He's getting, and it's not pay-per-view yet, like full blown.
Point.
That's my take on it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you just reminded me that you just reminded me that I got to bring that up about the PBC because there's another thing that happened that's making us raise our eyebrows about their future in the sport. But shout out to you, 713. Thank you for your call, and call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, listen, fellas, hit the like. Hit the like. We were at 102 likes. That's good, but we can do a little bit better. Just a little bit.
Are people saying Mendoza don't have power? Is that what people have been saying? I mean, is that the narrative kind of thing? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think he's got really good power, actually, with both hands. I mean,
I've heard that from one or
KO
two
ratio.
I've heard that from one or two people, and I don't understand where they're coming from. I mean, he knocked out Fundora previous to the Tszyu fight, and then he obliterated Banana Rosario with an uppercut. Now, granted, Banana Rosario has been stopped 3 times now, so it might not be that impressive, but I mean, still, you look at most of his fights, and the guy can crack. He's got explosiveness. Or as Miguel Cotto would say, explosivity.
He knocked that kid into the shadow realm. Remember, he was smiling at the ref. He had no idea where he was. He was just sitting there smiling. He was out cold. So, yeah, that kid can crack. And I think that's what we saw last night was he did the veteran tactic of waited because you can feel it, whether it hits your arm or anyway. You know when a kid's lost some of the oomph off his fastball, and you jump on it. So he kind of waited until he got a little, probably was throwing at 70% of what he was hitting him with in the first 3 or 4 rounds. I believe that's why he waited until the later half to bring it more.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of he have power and he also have a tough chin. So when you got those 2 intangibles, oh man, like even if you land your best shot and you're not getting the other guy out of there, you kind of have to like bide your time and look to land the right shot because your opponent can switch the tables on you. And that's kind of like what Tszyu has too. He has a good chin and he has power. Those make for grueling fights.
Yeah, that's a good point right there, man. And it's going to be a problem. Like I said, that's why it must be a bit of a nightmare to fight him because he's going to stick to you like glue for as long as the fight goes on. There is some hope, though, however, because, I mean, like we said, his activity rate can sometimes leave much to be desired. And on top of that, he can be hit. You just got to set him up properly and not by his feints, which, again, easier said than done, but it can be accomplished. Let's go back to the phone lines here. Let's go to 301. 301, you're 301. What's on your mind?
BDA.
Oh, shit.
Right. I'm sure other people have commented, but I'm tired of these early stoppages, right? Makes a mockery of this whole world title thing, which itself is, overplayed, but you gotta let the guy at least have a chance to, fire back in desperation. He didn't even go down. I don't know what you thought, but it seems like the ref was just excited to stop that fight. He even bumped them before the stoppage, making Janibek confused. I don't know if you caught that.
First of all, I'm sorry because you got cut off, or I cut off. Something happened. I didn't hear which fight you were referring to. Which fight are you talking about?
The Janibek fight. Alimkhanuly.
Yeah, hey, listen, that's a good point, man. Look, I know he was outmatched Gualtieri, but guys, Irish Andre Wars makes a good point. We want to see somebody flattened.
Exactly. Look, I always say he had more life left to give. Every world title fight, I expect to see like the health bar drop. Like your life expectancy might be 82. I want to see that. That's a little generous. Maybe get down to 78.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying kill him, but I'm not saying kill him, but I want to see a guy risk getting brain damage. That's what. Look, I know it sounds stupid. I know it sounds brutal, but it is what it is. It's a brutal sport. Nobody said we were normal. We're boxing fans.
I mean, exactly, right? It's like the guy's like, oh my God, he's getting hit. The ref's like, yeah, like the ref is acting like, I can't believe he's getting hit with punches. It's like, it's a boxing match. Well, what do you expect to happen, right? At least it's not like his eyes were glassed. He wasn't completely out of it. He was just getting hit. And without defending himself, it was just 6 rounds, right? You got to give him at least a chance. And we saw the same thing with Warrington, right? He had a whole minute to recover. At least let the guy walk out of there, do the whole doctor rigmarole, give him another 30 seconds with the doctor to shine the light in his eyes. By the way, these doctors these days, they're really getting handsy with the cuts. Like, they're just shoving their thumbs right into people's cuts. Like, does this hurt? Is this bleeding?
You know what, man?
Doing? They did that to Mendoza, right? They're like, oh, does this hurt if I peel it back all the way?
I mean, they're getting
fighting these guys.
They're getting Dracula's
people.
They're getting Vlad Dracula's descendants to be the doctors in those fights. I don't know what's going on. What was the other one? It was an ESPN fight a couple of weeks back, right? The guy had a bad cut on his nose.
Yeah.
And the doctor just goes, hey, let me shove my finger in there, see what's going on, see if I can patch it back out by making it worse.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I remember vividly that image of him just shoving his thumb in there, like looking for gold or something.
Yeah, man, it's just bizarre.
But
it's bizarre.
But on a quick note on Alimkhanuly, I know you brought up his worst performances. I didn't get a chance to see that Remy fight, to be honest, or Bentley, whatever. It was kind of boring, but I remember he hurt his hand against Hassam Danam, right? And he was just beating the crap out of him. That was another case where the African dude was like, no, I'm ready to die. I'm willing to die in the ring when the ref stopped it. That's a good attitude. You know, that's what I like to see. But I think maybe the hand injury made him reluctant to hit as hard with his left hand, because he's been sniping the last two guys he's been in there with, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he really just he started early, like that a shovel hook down the middle he splits the guard with has become a real weapon for him. So I remember Triple G, we never really saw him being the destroyer he was, because we didn't see him in the U.S. until he was like 30, which is about the age Alimkhanuly is. So maybe we'll get a few good years of him smashing dudes. Hopefully he gets some better competition. But what I really wanted to say is Tszyu. His performance was pretty good, but a lot of people have mentioned the lack of activity, and I kind of agree with that. I think he didn't dig to the guy's body as much, even though he had ample opportunity to. Maybe he's just workshopping things in the fight, but call me crazy, I think that someone like Lubin, who can move around well, would actually give him some trouble, because most of his fights at the top level have been these brawlers like Jeff Horn and there's a guy Steve Spark before that. And Harrison wasn't very mobile by the time he fought him. He was just backing up, but he had the ankle injury. So I'd like to see him fight a guy who's a bit more mobile, or, and obviously I'd like to see him fight Ramos. That's really what I want to see, because Charcoal's not going to fight him, it seems.
Well, we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully he gets some opponents. Same thing with Janibek. He's kind of low on opponents himself, but we'll see what happens there. Irish Andrew Ward, we do have to go, but always good to hear from you, and take it easy out there, right?
All righty. Have a good day, BDA.
You too, man. All right, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. It really helps us out. All right, let's go back to the phone calls here. Let's go to 347. 347, you're on the air. 347, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up? It's NPR. How you guys doing?
Oh, NPR guy. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's up? I want to bring something to Gonzalo's attention and wanted to ask him a question. Let me know what he thinks. As far as Tim Tszyu, he doesn't really have a bladed stance, and we talk about his lack of activity. And I think that's because he's relying on timing. He punches with the other fighters, and his timing is excellent. And I think that he doesn't really use a jab to set up punches. Because of that, he's a squared up stance, and he uses a very active high guard, which you pointed out in your video that you made on him. So he uses that for his defense, and he uses back and forth. He slips into a quasi Philly shell when he goes straight back for defense or parries. Very subtly. Actually, you pointed that out. I didn't notice that before. But I was talking about, wanted to ask about his jab, his lack of jab. And he really has a power jab when he uses it, but it's not, as I say, it's not used to set up punches. So I wanted to know what Gonzalo thinks about my noticing that, or does he notice the same thing?
Not too much. I think the video you're referring to, I think that's Mr. BDA, the one he did on Tim Tszyu. I think Jamie pointed out about the jab. I didn't pick up on that too much. Maybe I wasn't looking for it, that he didn't throw it as often as maybe he should have. But I did realize, and like I mentioned before also, he's got a good lead left hook. So if he can throw a powerful lead left hook, obviously he got power um, to throw a jab if he's so desired or wanted to in the future. Maybe it's a lack of like developing that specific certain punch as far as like a straight jab as opposed to like a hook. But I'm saying he got power in both hands. Why is he not doing it? That beats me. But just have to pay attention, I guess, from here on out. But yeah, that's a good question. I think that was Mr. BDA's video.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think he's not using. I think he's not setting up his punches in the traditional way from a more bladed stance. So that way he generates this kind of equal amount of power. And it's very interesting about him. I'm glad you noticed that left hook that he had. It came into play last night pretty beautifully. I mean, it was a pretty consistent punch that he had that came around the guard, and it was from not really traditional hook distance. It's from long distance. So I think it could be an asset to him if he could be more active with the jab, and therefore his punch count will go up for sure. But even just more is just a setup punch, because he doesn't seem to be doing it, but he seems to be effectively countering and punching effectively one at a time. But it's very, very specific, and it's intentional. It's not just like a filler punch. So one other thing I noticed about him is he's not winding up. So he does have power. He's not like Canelo was in his last time, like winding up on all his punches. So he does have power in both hands. I think it could really benefit him if he could get that jab in there more consistently. It will certainly be able to make that hook more effective, because he could, nobody knows it's going to be a hook or it's going to be that long
I think
a jab. Anyway,
that jab.
That's my thoughts on it.
All right, NPR, good call. Thank you for calling in. Always good to hear from you, and call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there.
Yeah, salute, Mr. NPR. Peace.
That's right. Yeah, that's one thing we'll have to see. And he's been taking on some good junior middleweights, Tim Tszyu, and maybe put him in there against Erickson Lubin. I mean, that's the only other guy that's left if he's not going to fight Charlo. Lubin, who's just coming off that highly contentious decision over Mono Ramos. Don't forget to hit the likes, fellas. Hit the like. We're taking phone calls here, and then we still have a lot to talk about here before the end of this hour. So let's go back to a phone call here. Let's go to 416. 416, you're on the air. 416, what's on your mind?
What's up, Gonzalo, Jimmy, BDA, possibly Bucho? What's going on, boys?
What's up, man?
What's up, brother?
So, yeah, listening to fucking Dora and Irish Underwood, those two brothers, like, fucking, those two dudes, not brothers. They probably they went to the Charlottesville fucking parade, but they forgot their tiki torches at home. So
come on, no, wait
those fuckers, they kind of. But no, yeah, well, short of going to any like primarily black neighborhood, they get fucking their fucking wig turned back. But anyways,
are you saying black neighborhoods are dangerous?
Interesting. Anyhow, in regards to Janibek, I was and as what you guys stated, we as boxing enthusiasts, we kind of like look forward to two things: either a competitive fight, meaning like as close to a 50-50 fight, or for one guy to get completely almost annihilated. I wouldn't say like we want to see a guy get killed or like sent to the morgue, but as close as possible. I agree. And this whole like officiating, refs stopping fights like prematurely and shit, this is getting like ridiculous.
Listen, you're preaching to the choir here. By the way, is this Mr. Booty Juice?
No, man, it's Rick. It's Rick Star.
Rick Star. Okay, yeah, shout out to you, Rick Star. Yeah, man, look, You're preaching to the choir. We all want to see guys. And look. Some people could think that you and I are being, and we're all being a little bit too vicious here. But if you ask 90% of the professional boxers, prize fighters, hey, would you rather they stop the fight too soon or too late? Most of them go, fuck, too late. I don't want to get. I want. They believe that as long as they stand in the ring, they have a chance to win via punch, even if they're not. Even if they're not power punchers, that's what they believe in. So let the fights go on and reach a conclusive end.
I believe it's also been mandates passed down from the commissions. I've been trying to telling the judges to watch these guys closer. You know what I mean? Especially after that Puerto Rican kid got, knocked into a vegetable back in 2019.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name. But so there's been mandates, including Vegas has told refs just in the last 5 years to pull fights. Anyways,
but that was on the top rank. That was on the top rank, I think, and that fighter was basically, I think Bob kind of didn't start continue promoting it. And, I wanted to ask you guys, all of you, would you think Janibek Alimkhanuly's power is in the same light as when Triple G was in his absolute prime and he was being presumably the boogeyman at that time period? I feel that Triple G has a bit more power, but Janibek I think he has kind of shadows of that.
Well, listen, Rickstar, we're going to answer your question, but we're going to hang up because we got to move on here to our phone calls. But great question, and listen on the air because the guys are going to answer your question. All right, man? Thank you for your call, man, and take it easy out there.
All right.
Yeah, that's a good question, guys. What do you think? I mean, that's been the comparison. Triple G, Janibek, they're both from Kazakhstan. They're both sort of being anointed as boogeyman. But what do you think? Does Janibek have the same offense and offensive capabilities as Triple G? And I'll be right back. All right, fellas, you take over, please.
I'll say real quick, just on his power punch, say the uppercut, yes. I believe he punches hard as Triple G on the uppercut. His left, but when it comes to the jab, no. Triple G's left-hand jab was like it was a drill press. So,
yeah, that's a great point, Jimmy. Yeah, I didn't consider that, but no, really true. The jab, he's powerful jab, ramrod, fucking like a piston, consistent. Well, I mean, Janibek is a southpaw, so he got that going for him. I think he's quicker right now. Obviously, well, Triple G's retired. But anyways, he's 30, so I would just say he's a little quicker than Triple G, but Triple G probably heavier handed. And it really came down to mechanics, like links on a chain. Triple G, he threw like these punches where he got everything behind it, just like the body wise, the perfect mechanics. Now, can Janibek do that consistently? It's gonna come down to his technique, right?
And I like to defend him on one thing too. I check more into that. A lot of people kind of dogged him because he said he didn't want to fight Triple G. He's my countryman. I don't want to fight him. I have too much respect for him. He's my idol, yada, yada. And a lot of people are like, oh, bitch, coward, shit, up. But it's different over there. Kazakhstan's not the same type of country. Triple G was really like, he became like a superstar over there at his height too. Like, of course, he was knocking everybody out, world champion. He was held extremely high. From what I was told, I haven't been able to verify it, but when he was coming up and he turned pro and stuff, there was even death threats made to him. Like, you fight Triple G, blah, blah. But he's got like that faction of people over there who are really like, so I don't know how much that played into it or even if it did at all. But I think he labeled a coward for not wanting to fight Triple G. But if you're in a country, it might be the size, it was huge size-wise, but it doesn't have a high population. I can kind of see where if you don't want to fight the local fucking idol, you just turn off your countrymen. Maybe I don't know. What do you think?
You're supposed to be able to take out the men before you, take the crown, the torch. I don't understand this whole thing. Canelo got a lot of shit for saying, that supposedly, by the way, that was taken out of context too. When he said, "Oh, no more Mexicans from here," blah blah blah. I mean, you don't want to fight the next best guy in the division because from your own country. I don't know. I think that's a little suspect, bizarre.
De La Hoya got a lot of hate for beating up on Chavez, but he still did that shit twice.
He did.
That's right.
Yeah, he did. Big time. He got a lot of hate.
Inoue fought what's his name, Donaire 2 times. Basically, passed the torch to in Asia to the other Asian. You could see it
come
like
on,
that.
but yeah, but Gonzalo's doing what he's doing the racist thing. He's grouping all Asians together. Like, hey man, Donaire and Inoue, those are good Chinese fighters. Like, come on, Gonzalo. But no, it's you guys made some good points. It's Janibek is. I'm a little bit more convinced now. I think I underestimated him. No, I don't think I did underestimate him. But it's going to be difficult to get in big fights, especially with the scarcity of big time opponents in the middleweight division. He might have to move up, man.
He had that whole Ivan Drago look video. Like when they sized up on the weigh-in, I was like, damn, I was taken aback. Like I didn't expect him to be that much bigger than the other guy. But did he had that scowl like I'm going to kill you like the Drago. Right.
Yeah, he does look he looks like a psycho. He's got those Genghis Khan genes for sure, man.
Well, yeah, exactly. Thank you. He looks like he was born on the step on the back of a horse. Absolutely looks like a fucking Mongol. You know what I mean? Like you could see him taking a piece of steak out from under his saddle and chewing on it, firing fucking bows. I swear to God, he looks just like a Mongol. So yeah, but he just has that killer instinct, I think.
And Jimmy, if he's going Kazakh style, why is he rocking the Mexican colors? It looks like that to me.
Yeah, he was wearing a Christmas. Reminds me of the Mexican Christmas decorations that we used to put up. You know, that type of green, or is that turquoise?
Yes. Sorry, Jimmy.
Oh, no, don't apologize for it. But no, absolutely. It was a good point. But I think it's obviously smart. I mean, why not show a little, respect to the Mexicans? I mean, look what it did for Triple G's career. His biggest base were Mexican Americans by far.
Yeah, and Gonzalo, don't apologize to Jimmy, man. Show him who's boss. That's what I'm saying. And Jimmy, you got to do the same thing. You got to show Gonzalo who's boss. You gonna let a Mexican boss you around? I don't think so. But anyway, listen.
I see everybody rocking the rival gloves too, BD. Rivals,
that's
very
a thing,
popular
man.
now.
Yeah, Rivals become.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
It's a good company. Don't get me wrong, but it's interesting to have seen them grown from a little
Wasn't
shop here in
Mayweather going to buy it?
No, that was which one was it? Reyes or Title? No, it was Reyes.
It was some Mexican.
Okay. Yeah, I remember there was something about. I'm thinking about buying this company.
You see it at a store or something. Yeah. Let's go to the phone call here. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. Let's go to the phone call here. Let's go to 210. 210. You're in the air. 210. What's your mind?
Southpaw Lefty. What's up, guys?
Oh, Southpaw. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Hey, man. Tszyu is like similar to his father, man. They're real stiff on the upper body. And one fighter he reminds me of, a fighter when I was growing up was Kelly Pavlik. You remember he was just kind of like a stiff, straight up dude, but he had that power, and he would just kind of he would march people down. I think it's going to take somebody with like some tricks, maybe some dirty tactics like the Ward, how Hopkins did Pavlik. So I mean, he's stiff, man. I think he's just going to be like a role player, belt holder. But I'm like thinking about Terrence Crawford whenever I'm watching his fight. I'm like, man, I don't know. I think Terrence Crawford is going to dice him up if they ever fight. But it's funny y'all were talking about Janibek, man. I was just watching Conan. I went on a little Conan binge and was watching Conan the Barbarian. Part 1, part 2, and it reminds me of one of those guys, man. But I want to ask y'all something about. Y'all were talking about the entertainment value and everything. Y'all been watching boxing a long time, and can y'all ever remember prior to Floyd when people were like really debating back and forth? Is like, oh man, the skills, hit and don't get hit, the points and the back foot style. Did y'all ever remember that being like a popular thing or what people like argued about?
I mean, back in the day, there were always what people call back foot bitches. I mean, there was one guy, Bernard Taylor. He was an Olympian. I don't know if he was a gold medalist, I forget, but he was quick. One of the fastest guys I've ever seen. And he fought Eusebio Pedraza, who's an all-time great Panamanian fighter. And if you watch that fight, beautiful footwork from Bernard Taylor, but very little punching. and you listen to the commentators, and they're sort of like at some point like, what's he doing? So yeah, man. In any time, people have always respected actual boxing. Hit, not get hit, not one punch at a time and make faces and grimaces to the crowd and play up like you're a clown in a circus and hope to get a decision. Well, I don't know. I'm curious, man. Gonzalo, Jimmy, or Gonzalo, excuse me, Trobers, that whole discussion about slickness. And
In my lifetime, I saw it a little bit. Not from what I can recall. They used to give a lot of credit to Pernell Whitaker because he was a lefty. Because I remember BDA said the other day about bending low, and he got away with the punches stuff by bending low and making the opponent miss. But in my opinion, if you're gonna go down that low, might as well use your legs to come up with the punch for something. But anyways, yeah, it works for some people.
Yeah, I
just recall that.
But
there was guys who would do weird things like that, bend like that, but they would still come to fight. Like Aaron Pryor, he would bend low, go under punches, do all kinds of weird shit like that. But then he would stand in the park and let you punch his face in. You know what I mean? So, but the whole
my
style, no, that's a new that's kind of a new type of thing for me anyway.
Yeah, I agree. My point was, and I'm not trying to trigger any of the the cult members, man, but I think it was just because when Floyd was the face of boxing before Canelo, I think that's when that whole argument came about where people were like, oh, well, it's hit, not get hit. It's everybody, because the whole argument is that he's born to watch. They're like, oh, it's about hit and don't get hit. And then, it worked for him. The stars aligned. We already went through this can of worms a bunch of times, but I think we need to kind of slowly creep out of that because as you can see, the casuals, they don't give a fuck about resumes, man. Like, look at Tank Davis, man. All they talk about is his knockouts and the endings, but they don't know or they don't care that he hasn't really fought anybody. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's one of the things. Hopefully we're slowly creeping out of that era. We still got a couple guys lingering to that style, like Haney. Where it's like, oh man, it's with the whole one foot out the back door.
Yeah.
So we got to get back to the old school of fighters used to just go for. I mean, people watch boxing and see people get knocked out, and people got to stop being so sensitive, man. Boxing is one of the hardest sports, but the fighters and the fans are the most sensitive fucking people on the planet, man. I mean, it's like when people watch football and basketball, they criticize their teams and their quarterbacks and their coaches all the time. You don't ever hear them say, "Oh, well, you ain't never played football." Oh no, hey, you're not in the NBA. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know why they're so damn sensitive, man. It's just like, we're paying for the sport. It's not the military draft where, we're risking our lives for something. No, man, it's a choice, man.
Exactly.
Like you said before, man.
Some guys, for some reason,
we're paying customers.
You're right. Some guys feel compelled to defend
and I was listening to you make your point on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, I was listening to you make your point on the previous show, and I was listening to it the other night. It made me think, man. I'm like, with the Jermell Charlo thing, they're like, oh, well, you're not in there, you're not getting hit. But I'm like, man, they made so much money, and we look forward to that fight, and we made plans, ahead, weeks ahead. You know what I mean? We reserved that weekend. We all made sure to, like, clean up our car, go get people together. We look forward to it, for like weeks, sometimes months. And then when those things come along, and Canelo only fights twice a year, then to get a dud like that, and then people come on like, oh well, you're not taking punches, and he's risking his life. Man, everything's a risk. Football's a risk. You know what I mean? Like, people got to get out of the mentality, man. We're paying customers, and the sport is like dwindling, man. We need to get back to like the 80s and 90s.
You're absolutely right, man.
But that's all I got, man.
Yeah, because otherwise boxing is going to wither away. All right, listen, Southpaw, thank you for your call, and call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there.
Good call.
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. BD, it'd be like in the NFL, like watching a Super Bowl, and the quarterback throws up one of those gimme passes where you're like over the middle, where the safeties are going to just fucking take the dude's head off if he catches it. And looks like he's going to jump up and catch it, and then he goes, nah, he just pulls up. Nah. No way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to fuck. I could have got hurt.
Yeah,
it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and then like Southpaw said, it's like this is one of the only sports where people say, "Well, you've never boxed before. You don't have a say in what goes on inside the ring, but we're paying for it. We're paying, and I keep saying
Well,
it.
if any sport does, boxing more than any, the fans do. And NFL has every major corporation and network throwing money at them. The only where money is generated in this sport is us.
That's
Period.
Right. Yeah, and they're alienating. Like, look, when it's a niche sport, the last thing you want to do is alienate what little fan base you have left. Shout out to Northern American from Cali for his contribution with the Super Chat. He says, backpedaling in 2023 will not get you a victory. Examples, Pitbull Cruz versus Giovanni Cabrera, Regis Prograis versus Danielito. Pound for pound, number 1 is Inoue. Number 2, Nelo, that's Canelo. And number 3, Bud Crawford. Oh, all right, interesting list right there. But he's right. I mean, you can still backfoot bitch it and get the decision if you're the A side. Or if you're the guy that the establishment wants to win. So it's still possible, but we'll see what happens there. But shout out to North American from Cali, and shout out to Devin the Bootyman Gainey for his contribution to the Super Chat. And he says, Janibek will beat Big Charlo like a... Janibek will beat Big Charlo like a runaway slave. Well, actually, that phrase could be construed two different ways. Are you saying that Janibek is going to beat him as if Janibek were a runaway slave or Charlo the runaway slave? I mean, I think I know which one you're referring to, but I think a comma would have, or a different sentence structure there could have fixed that sentence a little bit. But I get your point, Devin, the Booty Mangani. And with that, I got to put up the disclaimer again. The views espoused by the people in the chat, the phone calls, the panelists are not representative of the BDA organization, all right? But we appreciate everyone's comments and everyone's participation in this fantastic program. Fantastic, I must say. Let's
on the lower level, Richardson Hitchens did the same thing as Charlo, he promised, I'm gonna go in there, and if the knockout's there, I'm gonna get it. But he said that, and when he had a chance to, he didn't pursue that.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Hitchens, by the way, is talking about taking on Cadrol. Should Cadrol get past Jorge Linares, I believe, next week. Let's go back to the phone lines here. Let's go to 949. 949, you're on the air. 949, what's on your mind? 949, you're on the air. 949, going once. Going twice. All right, call back in a couple of minutes, man. Let's go to the phone call here. Let's go to... whatever. 773, you're on the air. 773, what's on your mind?
What's up?
Yes, 773, you're on the air.
What's up?
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, we can talk about these fellow fights here. I mean, I'll talk about the Tim Tszyu fight, then I'll get into the circus sideshow.
Oh.
Tim Tszyu looked good. He was real calculated. He was a little bit more calmer, composed than I've seen him in previous fights. He knew he was in there with somebody as durable as he gets, because that dude was as durable as he gets, Mendoza. Anybody else who eats those shots, they're going down. So we got to give a shout out to Mendoza for hanging in there. Not even hitting the canvas one time off those shots. So yeah, Tim Tszyu looks good now. Charlo's got nowhere to go. He's not chasing no gimmick fight with Terrence Crawford or this, that, and the other. Up there, do the right thing by boxing and set up the fight that's supposed to be made, and that is Tszyu versus Charlo. Tim Tszyu.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, I don't think anybody could disagree with that. I mean, we're getting the sideshow jumping weight classes, and it just stay in your weight class, fight the mandatories, unify against the champions. That's what people want to see. Terrence Crawford, stay in your weight class and fight the mandatories.
All right, well said.
Wait, but as far as the Dylan Dennis, Jake Paul, whatever fight, KSI, that dude is such a spaz. You know how people fight like that when they come out and they're swinging wild, they're all aggressive. I never boxed, but I wrestled, and there's wrestlers like that. They come out there, they spaz out, they get all this energy in the first minute or two, and then they're shot the rest of the fight, the rest of the match. And that's That's KSI, the main event. I mean, the dude is just such a spaz, no composure, lunging in, swinging all these crazy hooks, and then he shot the rest of the fight. It was a complete joke. The entire card was a joke. It was, I mean, that's got to be the end. I mean, at least Jake Paul, he goes there, he tries to box. He tries to make himself look like a boxer. He stands in there, he throws combinations. I mean, that shit was just a complete embarrassment. And they're going to, because of shit like that, they're going to end it. They're going to end the whole gimmick for everybody. And they put on performances like that. The whole Sideshow, the cash cows, for all these little YouTuber dudes, and they go out there and fight like that, they're going to ruin it for everybody. I mean, Dylan Dennis, the dude's a jiu-jitsu fighter. He's never boxed in his life. He's never been known for striking. And Logan Paul, the biggest fucking piece of shit out there, handpicks him. Threatening to sue him. It's just, we're delving into some real demonic shit when talking about this Sideshow boxing act. I don't think anybody can disagree.
Well, we're gonna address that.
It's straight demonic.
We're gonna address the.
We're talking demon time.
Yeah, well, listen, we're gonna talk about whether there was some devilry afoot in that event. But anyway, listen, K-Dog, we gotta move on here. But thank you for your call and call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there.
All right, Bob.
Take it easy, man. I always laugh when I remember when Canelo beat Billy Joe Saunders, and Billy Joe Saunders essentially quit in there, and K-Dog called in. He was like, I don't like Billy Bob. He packed it in. Billy Bob. He kept referring to him as Billy Bob. Made him sound like a hillbilly or something. I don't know, for some reason that always made me laugh. He was doing it on purpose. All right. We still got some phone calls here, fellas. So don't forget to
I always picture K-Dog wearing like a red flannel shirt, checkered, like with some regular.
That makes no sense, man.
I don't know.
That makes no sense, man. I think he's dressed. I don't know. For some reason, I always see him dressed all in black, like he's about to do something in public. I don't know. Nothing nefarious, but just.
I see him in a Chicago. I see him in a Chicago Biz jacket and fucking with a Scully cap, drunk at a Chicago bar.
Come on.
Why does he have He's got such a Chicago accent. No, you know what I mean? Yeah,
but why is he got
that
drunk?
Prototypical Chicago accent.
I don't see why he has to be drunk though. In that scenario. Come on. Yeah, that's.
Kevin always calling. He's always calling shit faced.
Well, he did have that story that he told on the Second Renaissance about the car issues he had with the Department of Motor Vehicles. But anyway, listen, let's go back to the phone calls here. Let's go to. Who else was here? Well, 949 is calling back. Hopefully he's settled in. 949, you're on the air. Can you hear us? 949.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, 949. What's up?
Hi, big fan of the show. So I went on Amazon and I bought 20 boxes for like $38.99. That's $1.95 a box. The U-Haul, they only charge $1.38 a box, which is obviously 57 cents cheaper. And it's the most durable cardboard out there. You can fill it with anything you want. 50-pound weight, it might be hard to lift, but you know what? That thing's not going to tear. So my question is, what is the cheapest, most durable box, in your opinion?
It's a fascinating question, man. I'm so fascinated that I don't know how to answer that one, guys. Any of you have any experiences with cardboard boxes? Well, the silence says it all there, my friend.
No, I don't.
Yeah, we're out of our depth on this one, man. Anything else you want to say?
No, yeah. All right. Yeah, just head to U-Haul. Skip Amazon. They're a scam. You could buy as many boxes as you want from U-Haul. They have heavy-duty options, which means they're going to be even thicker cardboard. So that thing's not going to tear. You can fill it up with whatever you want.
That's right.
And you can, it's not going to tear. So
I think that this isn't that kind of boxing show.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, man. But he brings up a good point. Amazon, though, I mean, come on. Yeah, Amazon, big fan. Yeah, the Amazon, though,
Amazon does suck.
Yeah, man, I think so, too. Well, I mean, allegedly, because I can't besmirch Amazon for legal reasons, but I've heard that a lot about certain products that they sell. You're absolutely right. Anyway, listen, 949, we're going to move on here, but thank you for your call, and call back next time, right, man? I'm trying to hang up on the guy. I'm trying desperately to hang up on him. The button wasn't working. I guess I was boxed in. All right, let's go back to another phone call here. Let's go to 619. 619, you're on the air. 619, what's on your mind?
Yeah, what's up? I was just listening. You guys talk about Pernell Whitaker. Although I think he was an unorthodox fighter, I think he did come back with punches. I remember Julio Cesar Chavez saying that he almost took a shit when Pernell Whitaker hit him with the body shot. And he also, knocked down De La Hoya, or what appears like he knocked him down when he touched a canvas. So, yeah, he was a great defensive fighter. Had great fights against Jose Ramirez, which he lost. But I don't think he was like a back foot bitch of any type. As far as that Hitchens guy, I don't even think he was being a back foot bitch. I just think he was hugging a lot, man. He was like, you would think Cepeda was like his dad, man. Like, freaking, he already knew beforehand that Cepeda was a power puncher, so he went in with the mentality of not even getting hit or scared to get hit. He would keep him at bay with his distance and with his height. And as soon as Cepeda would try to fight or punch, he would just hug him, man, and even would do rabbit punches. So yeah, and what I don't like is that and as far as the history books or the box rec, it's just going to say that Hitchens won. But it never gives the details of what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Billy Joe Saunders, when he got hit, I think his corner waved it off. He broke his face, and the corner did the right thing by stopping the fight. But anyways, that's what I think.
All right, Jose. Well, good of you to call back, and we'll try to piggyback off of that.
I just remind you guys when he said he almost took a shit. That was pretty funny.
That'll happen, man. If I don't know what he must have eaten too close to the fight. All right, listen, Jose, thank you for your call, and call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to the phone calls here. Our phone call, rather. Let's go to 706. 706, you're on the air. 706, what's on your mind?
Hey, am I coming in clear?
Absolutely, loud and clear, Sue here. What's up?
Hey, the Steve Kim guy, I watched, watched his show on YouTube. I didn't know who he really was, and he needs to get you on that show, man, because that Mario Lopez guy was talking about some boxer, and it sounded like he was like trying to blow him. Like the way he describes boxers, he always talks about how good they look, or.
Susair always has to complain about the most bizarre things ever, man. Which fighter was it? Do you remember the fighter? Which fighter was he so-called blowing?
I had it in the background, but I heard later on in the show too, and he talked about like those pants look really good on him, or gay shit like.
I mean, Mario always calls fighters. One thing he does he always calls my guy. Yeah, my guy Jimmy, was looking good last night.
That you hit the nail on the head. I was gonna say one of these days, if that subject ever came up, that we gotta do a drinking show. 3 knockdown rule. Mario Lopez game. Every time he says my guy, everyone's his guy. You know what? He did a show on the History Channel one time. They had him on as a guest, and they were talking about the World War II. And he said, I think my guy Hitler. I think he really screwed up attacking Russia, man. When he should have focused on finishing the Brits. My guy. So I think he really fucked up by killing 6 million Jews, man, and gays and gypsies. I think my guy. Stop saying my guy. Everybody his guy.
My guy was having a bad month.
Yeah.
He really loves to talk, huh? Sometimes I'm wondering, man, easily people get a word in. I'm pretty sure Steve Kim gets a little frustrated.
Wait, are you talking about me or you talking about? Are you talking about me or Mario Lopez?
Mario Lopez. Mario Lopez BDA.
Okay. Sounded like you were talking about me, not letting people.
I mean, he says good things, but he's just like real quick.
Hey, Sutsair, we already forgot about you, man. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, am I the caller? Or?
Sorry, man, you're forgettable. What do you want from me, man?
You're up in the Appalachians, bro. Forgot about you. My bad.
What are his credentials, or do they just want like a hot guy that people can look at? Like, what
hot guy?
What has he done?
What are you trying to say here, Sutsair? What are you trying to tell us?
Well, I think it's
they just
a celebrity who's actually knows
hot
boxing.
Girls to be,
So you find Mario Lopez hot, is what you're saying.
No, not me, but I'm just saying that's what they're trying to. You know what's.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
There on the show.
You brought it up. I don't know what you're talking about. You brought it up. You tell me.
All right. Well, that's all I really had to say. And death to Palestine.
Oh, come on, Jesus there, man. What the fuck? Did you guys hear what he said at the end? Oh man,
I did. I was waiting for something. Soothsayer was going to bring something.
Yeah, Soothsayer always brings up the energy, man. I was just busting his balls a little bit. But shout out to Soothsayer.
Always does. Yeah.
Always appreciate him calling from the Appalachian
That was funny
Mountains.
how he said. Yeah. He said, "Hello, I'm here. Did you guys forget about me?"
Yeah, I know.
Oh man.
He sounded like Mr. Wilson from that show Home Improvement. No, the dude that's on the other side of the fence that you can't see.
I think
Mr.
what
Wilson.
it is though with Mario Lopez though, I think they have an allotted amount of time. It's like literally that's why if you listen to Steve, okay, next we got the 3 rounds. It's like bang, they try to bang it out as quick as they can because he does it between shooting his shows and shit. So,
and also I think that's like you said,
it's the star power of Mario Lopez.
Like
and he actually sparred Canelo. I mean, so he's that good of a boxer where he was clearly Canelo was just giving him rounds. But I mean, he didn't look stupid in there. Put it that way. He's that good of a decent boxer. I tell you right now, I put him up
that's
against
why I
any
laughed
celebrity.
when what's his name, Eli Segbach said that he all of a sudden he got into a beef with Mario Lopez. He says, I could beat Mario Lopez. I could beat him easy. I'm thinking, boy, oh boy, this Eli Segbach, classic guy that's never been punched in the face. He thinks he can. He doesn't understand the minutia of a fight.
Mario Lopez was all about, I'll fight him. He was like, I'll fight him. Let's set it up. We'll do it. Mario would have fucking wrecked him.
I got my money on my guy.
Yeah, I think my guy, Mario Lopez. I think he could beat him. My guy. All right, hey, listen, fellas, we got to get back to.
Jimmy.
What's that, brother?
Tony Danza, as well.
Oh yes, Tony Danza. Well, he was a Golden Glove fighter. He actually won the Golden Gloves in New York City. He was an actual amateur fighter.
Yeah, Tony Danza. I know this is gonna sound funny, but he would fuck up most people like no problem. He will fuck you up. You ever like if somebody ever like misconstrued who he is, he'll beat the shit out of them.
I believe he turned pro too, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he have some pro career?
I believe he did turn pro. No. I think I don't think he turned pro. Jimmy, I don't think he ever did. He could have. He was that good.
By the way,
I'm pretty sure he won the gloves.
Oh, shit, we're getting comments in the chat. People are saying that I think it's on your end, Jimmy. The mic. I don't know if you're rubbing the mic, if you have the earbuds on, but I hear a clicking sound. It's back. Let's go back to the
earbuds without a cord. It's just an earbud. They're cheesy. All right, I'm gonna throw these fucking things out. All right.
Let's go back to the phone lines here. We got 832 on the line. 832, you're on the line. 832, what's your mind?
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Straight G, what's up?
Oh, hey, yo, what a video. Hey, so I watched the fight yesterday, right? And I see the title. It says, "Is Tim Tszyu seeking a boogeyman status?" I don't think he's the boogeyman because he didn't look as dominant as he did, as he usually does. And I was surprised by Mendoza. I thought Tim Tszyu was gonna stop him in like 2 rounds, and then Mendoza just came in there and he just started like out slicking him and making him miss, making him pay. But I think towards the end of the fight, Mendoza just lost steam on his punches, and Tim Tszyu was able to just walk right through him, for the second half of the fight. A lot of those rounds, the later rounds. And, but I think Tim Tszyu, he's still good enough to beat Jermell Charlo. I would still pick him right now just because he's been more active, and, I want to say he's been improved. He's improved his craft, he's very creative in that ring, just like Jermell Charlo was a couple years ago, very creative. But I think Tim Tszyu is just a little bit more youthful, and he's just he's been more active. So I think he'll have a lot more craftiness, just to bring out in that fight. So I would still favor him to beat Jermell. And I want to know what y'all guys think of Sam Goodman, the Australian kid. I think he could be Inoue, one day. I think.
Oh, guys, what did anyone of you guys see the Sam
that
Goodman
kid's
fight?
good. I seen him twice.
I didn't catch it, man. So let me ask the panelists, guys. Did you see that Sam Goodman fight on Showtime on the undercard?
I was watching it video, but to be honest, it's kind of annoying when you're trying to watch two fights simultaneously. You're gonna miss something, so it's like I kind of ignored it, but I was playing it. He's all right.
Sobers, I think you were gonna say something.
I think they fought the same time that Keyshawn Davis was fighting, and I try to kind of switch over to the Showtime card because it looked like they're going at it more. It seemed like a lot more action was going on in that fight.
The next Louis? Shit.
I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know about all that though.
It'll be interesting to see.
Like, damn, that's strange.
Well, listen. He's really crafty. He's another guy that's like of 122.
I mean, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, it's a long way to say that it will see what happens. I mean, we'll see, man. It's a long way to say that he could beat Inoue. But I didn't even watch the fight, so I'll try to find it on the net, see what you're talking about. And if you're wrong, Straight G, we're gonna have to have words, man. I'll just put it that way. But anything else you want to say?
Rival, you're saying?
Yeah, maybe. That's what he's
that
saying.
was a Straight G straight. That's good, bro.
All right, Straight G. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
Oh, and I think Janibek looked good on his fight. He did what he was supposed to do. Stop the guy in like round 8 or something, and it was pretty good. Well, I think it might have been one of the later rounds. I don't remember what round it was, but he looked pretty good. It was a close fight up until the moment it wasn't. He was like trolling in there. He was like showboating a little bit, and then all of a sudden he just caught the dude and he stunned him with the uppercut, and then it seemed like every punch just stunned him even more, and I think it was a good stoppage, So yeah, I think he really has no competition.
I would have. That's the thing we were talking about, Straight G, earlier, is that we would have liked to have seen the fight go on a little bit more. Like Irish Andrew Ward said, he still had more life to give. So I don't know about the stoppage, but yeah, Janibek did look good. He certainly impressed me, and we'll see what happens with him, man. All right, but Straight G, man, we do have to move on here, but thank you for your call. And let's start collaborating. Let's start collaborating for the Halloween shows for Second Renaissance, because I know you always got a bunch of good videos.
Oh, okay.
All right, man.
Yeah. All right, I'll start sending you stuff, guys.
Fantastic. All right, man. Take it easy. Thank you for calling in, and catch you on the next one, man.
All right, for sure. Take care.
All right, you too, man. That was Straight G. All right, listen, we're running out of time here. We're getting close to the end here. Jimmy, I want to get your thoughts on something. Well, all of you, but I want to start off with Jimmy because I know he's a big fan of it.
It's not over.
Jimmy, Rolly Romero, one of your favorite fighters, recently came out and said that if he would have fought that version of Errol Spence that fought Crawford, we would have got him. Excuse me, that was Rolly Romero's trainer, Bullet. Cromwell Gordon said that Romero would have gotten Spence out of there as well. What do you think?
It's the problem when the school lets the drivers of that special needs school get too close to the students.
Come on.
You see what I'm saying? And they, you know what I mean? All right, no, listen, come on, stop it. The fuck, you needed a judge's robbery to take out a fucking 44-year-old man whose wife was just murdered.
God damn, his wife got killed.
Wait. The wife was just kidnapped and murdered.
Yeah, but that was I think that was before another fight. It wasn't. But anyway, your point remains the same. Yeah, your point remains the same. He struggled with a 4-year-old guy that wasn't ever that good to begin with.
Right, a guy who's dealing with the loss of his wife too. Shit, I mean, yeah, you should be able to beat him when you're fucking 26 or 27 years old. You should, whatever age he is, dude. He's trying to talk his way into a fight with Spence. That's what he's trying to do.
He can't even focus his eyes when he's talking to interviewers.
Look, I know Spence is
gazing all over the room, man. The dude's got special. I mean, seriously.
Hey, man,
he's like he's not IQ tests. Let me just put it that way.
I know Spence got fucked up.
I do think Rolly would have whooped his ass, bro. The Spence was looking like the dude. But
He would've
Rosas
fought-
is
he would've
unrest.
fought Rolly.
That fool straight out of a jungle, dude. You know what I mean?
He would have called Rolly with a punch. It would have been over, bro. Would have been fucking over. He would have hurt that. Rolly's.
I think
Rolly's a
Rosas is being
trash
underrated,
talent.
bro, and Spence is being overrated.
No, he is overrated. There's no doubt about that. But he would beat Rolly. Rolly's terrible, bro. He's terrible.
Rolly's a smaller guy too.
Remember him begging for that fight, bro. Rolly was, I want Spence, and everyone was like, "Come on, man, you're stupid, you're stupid." Hey, they knew something back then, bro, and they were confident about it. I think he might.
Rolly's actually the size of Spence. Like outside the ring, they're just as big as each other. That's why he feels that he can fight him. But once he gets hit, I think it's going to be a wrap for him.
Yeah, look, I never forgot that trainer Bullet, where after they robbed Jackson Martinez, because Martinez outboxed Rolly Romero, and then the guy starts, as Martinez and his team are walking out of the ring, Bullet starts screaming at them, back to the drawing board, back to the drawing board. So it was kind of satisfying seeing this guy completely inept. I remember when Tank Davis, because the guys actually said in the press conference, Bullet said, we got so many fighters, and then Tank Davis says, who do you got in your team? Who do you got under? Shut the fuck up, man. That's all the guy could reply with. So it was good getting his comeuppance a little bit. But him saying that he could beat Spence, and that's the other thing. These people out there that call themselves boxing fans, but then they cheer on for bad decisions. That's why when Erickson Lubin robbed, Ramos got robbed against Lubin, and some people were saying, "No, I thought that fight was close. The fight was close." Aldo in the Discord made a good point. He said if that very same night Charlo would have gotten a draw against Canelo, those very same fans would have said, "Oh yeah, true. Canelo was only throwing one shot at a time. He wasn't doing anything. That fight was. I actually gave it to Charlo, or I thought it could have gone either way." Too many racial fans out there, emotional driven fans too. The type of people that interrupt you when you try to talk and they don't bring up any good arguments. That's the type of people that are. And then they wonder, why is the sport dying? Well, why do you think, man? Because people like Bullet as well. Trainers like Bullet. What else do you want to say about that? There was another thing that, I don't know, you guys even want to get into the whole circus fights that took place last night on the Zone? Pay-per-view, by the
No,
way.
in particular, man, those fights were duds. The undercard fights on that were much better than the two main events. So it was kind of a dud. Like, you know what I mean? It was like a wet fart of a main event and a co-main event.
It was about $80, man, that you had to pay, I think. I mean, all taxes included and all that. I think it was about 80 buckaroos. I mean, I saw there was one guy, Filipino guy. I'm not even going to say his name. I mean, you guys know who I'm talking about. He's got the salt something.
Salt pepper? Yeah. Salt pepper?
I mean, who gives themselves that name? Salt Pappy. Get the fuck out of here. I'm glad he lost just because of that.
Oh, Salt Pappy. There you go.
He had an all right fight, though. He got his ass knocked out. He had an all right fight.
Yeah. The other guy was a Muslim, right? The other guy was a Muslim.
Yeah. I think one of those Chicago ones that play basketball and shit.
Yeah, man. That was a semi-interesting fight. But then the whole Dylan Dennis versus Logan. That's why when Kevin from Chicago called, for people that don't know what we're talking about, Logan Paul took on arch nemesis Dylan Dennis. There'd been a lot of back and forth on Twitter, and the fight stunk. Dylan Dennis just didn't. You could tell he was way out of his depth in the boxing ring. He actually tried to take the guy down at some point. And so that's why Kevin from Chicago was saying that the event was so bad, or the quality of the fight so bad, that he doubts about whether this type of gimmick is actually going to be able to continue for much longer. What do you guys think?
I think Jake Paul still sells, and as long as he's doing his thing, there'll be other dudes trying to ride the wave and follow him. And like I said, the undercard was semi decent, bro. So I'm sure there'll be there's another one. I think a league called Kingpins. It's on the same shit. I think they have like OnlyFans girls fighting on there. So there's a market for it, at least for now.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was doing that kid who fought that KSI. He was doing that. He looked like, if you guys ever follow any MMA, that he did that same bouncing stance. He's from England. I guarantee you he trains the same place, Venom Page. You know what I mean? With his bouncing, almost like jumping jacks, but he only brings his hands up to his hips. He kept bouncing and doing that half jumping jack stance. It was the most ridiculous thing. But that's what, what's his name, Venom Page does in an MMA ring, because he can use his kicks. So it works in that sport. It's just ridiculous in boxing. And Tommy Fury is now a YouTuber. He's just a YouTube fighter.
Raymond Daniels? Jimmy?
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was I don't know who it was. Is that who it was? Raymond Daniels. Whoever was doing that. But he was doing that. Then he was just diving and hugging. But Fury is terrible. The other dude, Tommy Fury's supposed to be a professional boxer. He looked like shit.
Yeah, man, he's trolling against a YouTuber, for Pete's sakes. A YouTuber. That's why I actually picked Jake Paul to beat him. I thought he was going to ice him. What was that?
What if one of us gets an offer to go on their BDA? We can't be bad mouthing him. We got to support it, bro.
No, I'll badmouth it all. Listen, never, ever, ever, man. My goodness gracious. Could you imagine? Yeah, and that's the thing, though. This Tommy Fury, man. I mean, he should have.
These conversations people have on here.
How tall is Tommy Fury? How tall is he?
It's a good question,
6'1", 6'2"?
He's
I mean, that's not a bad height, but when your brother's 6'9", damn, you came out short, bro.
I think he's like 6'3", bro. 6. He's pretty tall.
Whatever he is, right? Like, but you're not as tall as your brother.
He's not a giant, no.
He's 6 feet tall.
And you're not that good either.
Recognize he's 6 feet tall, so he's about 5 inches. He's 6 feet tall, so he's about 5 inches shorter than you.
Oh, that's even worse.
Recognize he's 5 inches shorter than you are.
I'm not laughing because
he's like half Arab. He's got weird eyes, like that Afghani girl that showed up on the Time cover, the magazine.
No, I know he's from a different woman, which tells you that I think. Shout out to John Fury. I think he banged another chick, got her pregnant, and his wife stayed with him.
Oh,
salute to him.
That's the American dream right there.
Yeah. That's the way it should be. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. If you can pull it off, why not?
And if the man could take care of both of them, I say more power. More power to the girls and to the guy. But yeah, he sucks, man. He can't even knock out this. What the fuck was that black kid's name again?
KSI. Yeah.
KSI. Whatever. Like,
he looks like Megamind, bro.
That kid out. He could have knocked him out.
But you know what's the most egregious thing of well, not the most egregious, but one of the most egregious things of the night is the fact that Tommy Fury struggled against this dude. And then he sounds hyped after the fight, like, yeah, me and my team, we came in here with a great game plan. We overcame adversity. Well, he didn't say adversity, but he was sort of talking in that tone. I'm thinking, you barely beat a YouTuber, man. What are you bragging about? It's insane.
Like, there's nothing to be proud of, bro.
It is absolutely insane. And by the way, the clinching.
Proud of when you can barely beat a YouTuber that he just took up boxing, and you like come from a boxing. Well, at least you got the last name. You come from a boxing family.
And the amount of clinching, by the way, in that main event, every 5 seconds there was a clinch. It was insane, insanely boring.
Hey, BDA. You know what someone said on my stream while we were watching the fights? They said BDA got some power. He said after he started talking about the over clinching, they started putting clinch counters on fights.
That's true. Yeah, remember that with Haney Cambosos? They started putting they did well there, putting that. And then some people complained, "Oh, why they only do that to this fight?"
Is that kind of an influencer?
You're right. Yeah, but
hey, you guys see the promo for Haney Prograde? Now that you said that, I don't know why it reminded me that when Haney goes, Regis, I'm coming after you. That was fucking cringe.
Yeah, that kid is a queerdo, man. He's a queerdo.
A queerdo.
He's just an unlikable weirdo. Like
he's a fag.
I know it is.
I mean, I gotta tell you. Hey, by the way, I forgot to read a super chat here. Shout out to Uncle Pete for his contribution to super chat.
Likable.
Fellas.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, shout out to Uncle Pete for his contribution to super chat. He says, somewhere there's a Hamas rocket with Eli Segbach's name on it. Oh, come on. What the fuck? What's it Hamas? Hey, you guys remember?
I truly believe that.
Kevin from Chicago called into during the pandemic. I think it was. Eli Segbach was doing a call-in show. It wasn't really a call-in show. It was just he was just live streaming.
He was pissed off.
And Kevin from Chicago called in and started giving him shit about Israel Palestine. I'll try to find the clip, man. I know I have it somewhere. Shout out to Uncle Pete for reminding us of that. Hey, by the way, I got a question for you, fellas. Keyshawn Davis's haircut. What is that called? I am unfamiliar with those. It's like a girl's haircut. What is that?
Is there a picture of that, BDA?
I'm showing it on the screen right now. I'm sharing the screen with you.
Those are called the doo-doo braids, BDA.
Is that really? Is that really what they call it? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, back in the day, we used to call them Doodoo Brown. Remember like that song, Doodoo Brown, Doodoo Brown. I wanna rock, Doodoo Brown, like that.
I don't know what the
or
fuck.
Is that what they call cornrows?
Just cornrows with some braids on them.
Those are doodle braids.
No, those are not cornrows. There's better cornrows than that. That's Doodoo Brown right there. That's all that is.
Hey, by the way, in that photo we see Bomac in the background. What was the deal with ESPN taking the time out to interview him about his little escapades in England? Putting firearms in Cheeto bags. Is that what they're doing now, ESPN? Like, this guy goes in there. I know he didn't kill anybody. He didn't commit a genocide or anything, but he shows up with a gun. It's his fault, and they're trying to paint him as a victim. Did anyone find it weird that they were giving him the time of day to cover that?
Yeah. He got street rep now with that BDA. He's like a gangster rapper. He's being charged. And he came back. Like, for real,
He's
bro.
bigger than ever now.
Yeah,
he was happy to be there. He looks like he got bigger too. They must have treated him well inside. He was fucking happy. 3 hots in a cot. No,
they call him fat. They call him fat bastard in jail.
Ah, come on! No, wait a minute.
Big Mac.
Isn't that what they call him everywhere? Not just in jail. You guys are awful, man. Though I mean, the guy just. I mean, hey, listen. The guy was unfairly targeted.
Like, yo, FB.
The guy was unfairly targeted by the evil, tyrannical British government, and you guys are making fun of him for being fat. I gotta tell you, man, it's I don't know which direction the world is going in now. But look, listen.
What kind of big brother government would dig through a man's Cheeto bag?
I mean,
to look what he has in there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's what's the world coming to? I gotta tell you. Well, listen, fellas. We've been on for about 2.5 hours. I think we covered everything that happened, or almost everything that happened last night. Anything else you guys want to say before we move on?
Yeah, BDA. Can I say one thing, bro? I gotta get to talk about the Tim Tszyu fight.
Sure.
I want to say, because what I want to say about the way he fights and the way he operates, dude. I just want to call him. I think Tim Tszyu is a smooth operator, bro. He comes in, he's real relaxed. He does his work. He doesn't get bothered by what his opponent's doing. Mendoza was bigger than him. He looked heavier than him. He had a good chin, and he looked like he was throwing fire back the whole fight, even though he was like getting his eye fucked up. And Tim Tszyu looked unfazed. He just kept coming. He was just, like I said, like a smooth operator, bro. He just kept coming on, real chill the whole fight. So I like Tim Tszyu, man. He has a good style.
I agree. I'm gonna piggyback off Never Sobers and say the same thing. I was impressed. He's a smooth operator, bro. He just slips punches in the pocket, comes back with combinations. He's a good fighter, man. I thought he clearly won that fight. Like he won at least 10. I think he won 9 rounds.
Yeah, okay, because I thought you said I thought you said doggy style off of Never Sobers. What? You said piggyback. Right, okay. I'm just saying it's
stop it.
I don't even know I never really know what Recognize he's saying. But anyway, listen. Yeah, you're right, man. Smooth operator, very calm. But okay, before we move on, what you saying what you liked about his performance? But what about what you disliked? Is there any room for improvement, or what are some of the things he does wrong?
There's always room for improvements. I mean, like, I think you did a nice breakdown. You know, he does kind of leave himself open down the middle. The jab could get through. It could get through. But I mean, like, I don't think there's much to change. Maybe that a little bit. Just keep doing what you're doing, and work on your power punches. Keep working on those.
It's one of those things. If you change something, that's gonna like have an effect on something else, right? Kind of like the butterfly effect, right? You're doing something right, and if you try to alter that, the thing that you're doing right now is not gonna be the same. Therefore, it might be worse, right?
Possibly. I mean, he's been dropped before, and he comes back and continues dominating or dominates. So, I mean, it's put him in there in Lubin if he's not going to fight
It's all
Charlo.
dependent upon the. Yeah, sorry, BD. It's all dependent on the type of fighter that you're facing too. It's all it comes down to strategy too. Sometimes you might fight this guy that way, then the next time you fight him differently. But what he did against Vala Mendoza, given that Mendoza got a tough chin and he got a good punch, he did very good.
He did very well, absolutely, man. The future looks bright for him.
And I
remember,
don't-
BDA, remember when Julio Cesar Chavez fought Rocky Lodridge? That dude was tough, man. You could not look like real impressive because the other dude's tough too.
That's right. And Brian Mendoza is a game dude, bro. Listen, a lot of guys would have quit. The way he was getting pummeled, his fucking face was getting split open, everything, bro. He just strong guy, bro. In really good shape, you know. So I'm impressed with that win. I'm impressed with his boxing style. You know, he's not just a come forward, seek and destroy. He's got fucking rhythm and good placement punches too.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
absolutely. The future looks bright, and at least he comes forward and makes that fight happen. He's not a back foot bitch. All right, well, listen, with that being said, shout out to everybody who called in.
One more thing, BDA.
I posted.
Oh, sorry, give me. Richard Torres needs to stop facing bums, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to step it up. That's it. Peace.
Absolutely.
Like 6-7 fights.
Yeah, that's true, but he's an Olympian, right? So he's got the talent. Strong kid.
Yeah,
he's good enough that it's better to up the competition. It'll just make him better. You know what I'm saying? He's just feasting on these guys.
Absolutely.
I'm loving
it. No, but yeah, they need to. They did step it up a little bit in this last one because at least the guy was trying to punch back. But they eventually they're gonna within next year. By next year, they really should put him in there against some tougher dudes. But he's entertaining as fuck, man. For a smaller heavyweight or smallish, you know, by modern standards, he goes in there and fuck, man. I mean, feinting, body shots, angles. And then the porn stash. I mean, come on, that just seems to power him up even more. So the future looks bright for that dude as well. All right, well, listen, fellas.
Yo, BDA.
Yes.
I just came off a panel. I think it's called the Boxing Outlet. So if y'all want to go talk to them, they had. I was talking to them on their panel. And they said that Jermell Charlo will easily outbox Tszyu. Like he's weak sauce. Like easy work.
Well, there you go. I mean, like I said, Tszyu's coming forward. So just by definition, for a lot of people, that means he's rudimentary, primitive, unsophisticated. So I mean,
yeah, they said he was terrible. He was a sucker, bro. They said he was a sucker, bro.
Neanderthal boxing.
There you go. Yeah, Neanderthal Caucasoid boxing, as I'd like to say. But anyway, listen. We do have to move on here, but shout out to everybody that donated the super chat. I'm talking about Greg Terrible, M. Poe, Danny, Northern American from Cali, Devin, the Boogeyman, Gainey, and Uncle Pete. Shout out to those guys for their contributions with the super chat. Everybody that hit the like button, shout out to you guys. That really helps us with the algorithm. So keep on clicking on that like button if you haven't done so already, and subscribe if you've yet to do so already. We are nearing the times of the Red Calf, possibly the Third Temple. We're on the true path of the Crimson Cross and the Crimson Inquisition. You don't want to be on its bad side. So you guys, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. You'll be on the right side of history. Let me tell you. Also, I want to give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. Everybody that called in as well, by the way. But everybody that listened to the show, everybody in the chat. I'm talking about Dominic Rodriguez, Protectorate General, Pugalacan, Dominic Rodriguez. Okay, Sam Rando, Team Batman Boxing, Arm, Dante Merlo, Knockout Ned, Uncle Pete, Quinton Lassiter, the Boxing Kangaroo, shout out to him. Excuse me, the Viral Chronicles, One Foot Out the Door, shout out to him. Who else was here? Rapax Trucking Company, 10-4, I Am Your Leader, shout out to I Am Your Leader. The Blame Boxing, Team Batman Boxing. If I forgot anybody, it's because we do have to go. Shout out to everybody in the panel too, by the way. Can't forget those guys. I'm talking about Jimmy, a.k.a. the Jimarino, Gonzalo, a.k.a. the Guns, Recognize, Never Sobers. Shout out to you guys. Always appreciate you jumping on the panel. And that's about it. We'll catch you on the next one midweek, and have yourself a good Sunday.